Chapter 928. Guang, are you all right? Just at that moment, Jiang Yade's head popped out from the window as she asked cautiously. The light in the pool was gradually dimming, but the water still shone a dark red. The muffled sound just now was frightening, but it seemed as though nothing had happened in the courtyard. Old Master Guang waved his hand domineeringly. It's all right, a mere clown can't hurt me. Quickly shrink your head back. Although he's already left, it's still not safe. He had decided to chase after him. The two of them had just exchanged a few words when a hubbub of voices sounded from the other side. The guards in charge of security in the Silver Bull Hotel had sensed that something was amiss and had quickly come over. Old Master Guang hurriedly clamped his legs together. What the heck? I'm still naked. He immediately leaped up and ran back. Excuse me, I'm going to jump in again. When he returned to the room, he realized that he had made a mess in the room. However, he did not have time to waste as he planned to put on his pants and continue his chase. In the end, he was dumbfounded. The scattered pieces of cloth on the ground looked very familiar. If he was not wrong, this was the old man's Versace casual wear and CK underwear. Who was it? How despicable to actually tear the old man's clothes into pieces while he was not paying attention. Wait, with my vigilance, this is not possible. A certain lost memory quickly surfaced in his mind, and his face immediately turned purple. Damn it. It seems that I was the one who had torn my clothes in front of Jiang Yade previously. I was the one who had caused my clothes to be torn. Every second that he wasted was an additional chance for the person who had plotted against him to escape. Old Master Guang was embarrassed for a moment, but he did not have the courage to charge out naked to catch the person. Wrapping himself in a quilt was a solution, but it would greatly affect his mobility. The other party had a huge weapon that could fire a new type of depleted uranium bomb. Although a martial sage was very powerful, it was hard to guarantee that he would not die if he was not careful and was shot in the head. My brother, what should I do now? Guang's eyes turned and landed on Jiang Yade's chiffon nightgown. The sexy panties she had taken off at some point were still hanging on the ground in front of the bedroom door. Lord Guang took a deep breath. It wasn't that he couldn't wear it, but it was better than nothing. Jiang Yade shrank in the corner. His rather scary gaze made her hair stand on end. What are you going to do? Don't tell me you want to do it again now. Guang waved his hand. What are you thinking about? Take off your clothes. How dare you say you don't want to have a go? It really isn't. I'm not joking. Guang was afraid that he would run away. He gritted his teeth and rushed forward. My clothes were just torn. I have to catch that bastard now. Otherwise, I'll be silenced later. And then, Jiang Yade was still in disbelief. And then give me your clothes to wear. 3 seconds later, before Jiang Yade could even react, her nightgown had disappeared from her body like a whirlwind. Guang's movements were too fast and nimble. With a swoosh, he was gone. Before he left, he hurriedly said, I looked around earlier. There seems to be an air raid shelter under this villa. Go and hide there first. Don't come out unless it's necessary. Wait for me to come back. It'll only take 5 minutes at most. This guy is serious. Jiang Yade screamed. Guang had already disappeared. The tattered curtains swayed, as if a gust of wind had just blown past. She hurriedly went to find her casual clothes. Just as she was putting them on, she suddenly came back to her senses. Something's wrong. Something's definitely wrong. After a while, she reacted. He had snatched away her chiffon nightgown. That's right. He even took away my underwear. Now this guy is wearing my underwear. It's so embarrassing. On the other side, Guang was actually quite embarrassed. There were people coming and going from the hotel outside, and many of them were approaching Jiang Yade's villa. Fortunately, he was now very capable. It was late at night. Although there were many people, he hid in the shadows of the trees along the way, restrained his breath, and became one with nature. He floated like a phantom, so no one noticed him. Why was it a phantom? Because the chiffon nightgown was pink. Occasionally, a hotel guard noticed this flash of light, but in a trance, he thought he was hallucinating. It's the middle of the night. My eyes must be playing tricks on me. Why would there be a female ghost flying out of nowhere? The guard collected his thoughts and rushed to the villa area. He heard that there was a big shot living there, and the commotion was quite big. If something happened, no one could bear the responsibility. Tonight was not very peaceful. He had to be on full alert. The wind blew past Chengguang. The light turned into a shadow and was left behind by him. Ever since he returned to this world as the true martial saint emperor, even when he was fighting with Ouyang, Tianxing, and the others, or when he broke the depleted uranium bomb with his bare hands, he did not go all out, because there was no opponent in this world who was worthy of him going all out. He was afraid that if he was too strong and used too much force, the internal force could even injure himself. I can't even beat myself when I'm angry. But at this moment, he allowed the inner strength to run wild in his body like a raging river. It was as if his legs were equipped with wind and fire wheels, allowing him to be like the wind, like the light, and like a ghost, silently but rapidly dashing through the forest. At this moment, even if someone was lucky enough to see him, they would not be able to clearly capture his figure. Usain Bolt maintained the limit of a normal human's 100-meter dash, and his top speed was only around 10 meters per second. But Chengguang had relied on his internal energy and a perfect physique that surpassed the limits of humans to raise this limit by several times. From the time he jumped back to the villa to snatch Jiang Yage's pajamas and rushed out, it seemed to take a long time, but in fact, it took less than 30 seconds. Then, he rushed out of the villa and went straight to the building where the ambusher was hiding. He crossed a straight-line distance of 300 to 400 meters. Although to avoid the crowd, he took a slight detour along the shadows of the trees, a total distance of about 500 meters. It took him less than 15 seconds to rush downstairs. He stomped heavily on the ground, leaving deep footprints on the concrete floor. The gust of wind that followed him blew his nightgown into the air. If it wasn't for the fact that the person wearing this outfit was a pure man, it would actually be quite beautiful. Chengguang thought for a few seconds. He was not in a hurry to go upstairs immediately. He had already delayed for a while. The ambusher had seen his methods and would not have the guts to wait for death on the roof. He would probably find a way to escape. Just as he was thinking about this, he heard the violent roar of an engine coming from the exit of the underground parking lot. The next moment, a Yamaha with wide tires rushed out from the side of the parking lot, roaring toward the street corner. The driver of the Yamaha looked up and saw Chengguang standing not far away. The Yamaha suddenly changed direction, the friction of the tires on the ground causing smoke to fill the air. It spun around and rushed in the other direction. That's right, the driver of the Yamaha was the blonde mercenary from the rooftop. He was about to go crazy. He had taken the elevator from the rooftop to the underground parking lot, then rode the motorcycle and rushed out. The whole process had taken less than 2 minutes, but this ghost-like man was already standing there waiting for him. Others might find his current appearance funny, but for the golden-haired mercenary who was trying to escape, the appearance of the man in a nightgown was not funny at all. This nightmarish guy was scarier than the water monster in Loch Ness. The mercenary did not even dare to hope that he could pass by the man on the motorcycle like a normal person. A man in his sleep could sense that he was about to detonate a bomb from hundreds of meters away, react in time, and completely lock onto his position. How could not sense his aura now? Chengguang also reacted swiftly and chased after Sai Mo the moment he saw this scene. He could not let this guy run at full speed. Otherwise, with the Yamaha's performance, it would be difficult for him to run on foot. Unexpectedly, just as he took a few steps forward, that guy's Samoyed exploded with a loud bang. The Yamaha's body turned into a dazzling ball of flame and rushed along the road for dozens of meters, leaving a trail of flames in its wake. As for the man in the car, no, he was no longer human. The moment the Yamaha exploded, the man was completely engulfed in flames and thrown further than the motorcycle. He fell to the ground, motionless and still burning. Chengguang was stunned. In the end, he was still a step too late and was silenced. No, his employer might not have intended to let him live from the beginning. As for who this person's employer was, Chengguang did not have to think too hard to guess. It could only be Chao Zhengming. However, Chengguang did not expect him to be so crazy. He knew that he was with Jiang Yage, yet he still dared to send someone to use TNT, which would definitely cause additional casualties. If he had not reacted fast enough, Jiang Ye's fate would not be much better than that of the Burning Man. The explosion here would definitely attract more people. Since the man was already dead, there was no point in staying here. Chen Guang turned around and left. Things had escalated to this point, and there would be no room for reconciliation. The news would also spread to Yanjing, and the elders would have to do something about it. Look, this is the Chao Jingming you want to protect. He treated me and Jiang Ye like this today, and he will do the same to you in the future. He had committed a big taboo. If he had not done what he did today, the situation would still be under control. But now, he had the intention to kill. Even if he was killed on the spot and did not leave any evidence, the situation had already gone beyond the limit. Sometimes evidence was not so important. He would go to Yanjing tomorrow and put an end to this matter. Chen Guang walked along the wall of the Silver Bull Hotel step by step, and his mind was in a mess. The guards in the hotel would not arrive for a while, and Chen Guang was not in a hurry to cover his face and hide. Suddenly, a white Maserati screeched to a stop beside him. Chen Guang. Chen Guang turned around with a pale face and stared blankly at the person sitting in the driver's seat. Bai Hua, what the hell? I am still wearing Jiang Ye's pink nightgown. Wait, my crotch is also cold. That's right, and her underwear. Run. Chapter 9:29. With no time to think about it, Chen Guang pinched his nose and forced himself to use a sharp voice to shout, "Damn pervert, go away. I've seen this kind of pickup line many times." Then he ran away, thinking that the old man's acting skills were on point. Although he didn't have any makeup on, he should be able to fool Bai Hua in the middle of the night, right? Unexpectedly, Bai Hua stepped on the accelerator and chased after him. Stop pretending. I saw you from afar just now. At first, I couldn't believe it. It took me a long time to confirm that it was you, and then I came over. I heard an explosion just now, and now I can see the fire. What happened? Why are you here? F*CK, are you poisonous? You actually peeped at me from afar for a long time when I wasn't paying attention. Brother Bai, do you often drive a luxury car in the middle of the night to hunt on the streets? I didn't expect you to be like this, Brother Bai. Chen Guang saw that he couldn't deny it, so he had no choice but to stop and get into his car. As for why Bai Hua would appear here, Chen Guang wasn't surprised. Jiang Ye lived in this villa, and Bai Hua's status was similar to hers. It was reasonable for him to also live in this large executive-level hotel. It was just that he deserved to be unlucky to actually bump into him at this time of the day. So the problem was, how should he explain it to him? Chen Guang hesitated. In fact, he wanted to tell the truth. Tell him what happened today, and let him understand that this is what you and Lin Jingwei did for the person who interceded. Now he wants my life, and he even wants to kill Jiang Ye. Do you still have the face to defend him and smooth things over? But after thinking about it, Chen Guang still felt that he couldn't say it. On one hand, the situation had become serious, and it was obvious that it would become more serious tomorrow. It was no longer something that second or third generation people like Bai Hua and Lin Jingwei could get involved in. Now, whoever got involved would be unlucky. There was no need to drag Bai Hua and Lin Jingwei into this mess. Moreover, they couldn't do anything about it. Letting them know would only make them feel guilty for no reason. On the other hand, if she told him the truth, wouldn't he be able to guess that she was wearing Jiang Ye's pajamas? Wouldn't that cause an uproar? Chen Guang remembered that Bai Hua used to like Jin Shuriwei. When he gave up on Jin Shuriwei, he told himself that he must treat Jin Shuriwei well. Therefore, it was hard to guarantee that this matter wouldn't spread from his mouth to Jin Shuriwei. Jiang Ye and herself would have to give Jin Shuriwei an explanation for what happened today, but they couldn't let it spread to her ears from a third party. Therefore, she couldn't tell him the truth. So what should he do now? Chen Guang decided to make up a story. Tonight's ambush didn't leave any evidence, so he could only rely on his own guesses. Even if Bai Huan knew that he was lying, there was nothing he could do. It's nothing. I couldn't sleep at night, so I came out for a run. Unknowingly, I ran here. As you know, I'm the world's #1 expert now. A normal amount of exercise isn't even enough for me to catch my breath. Unknowingly, I ran a little too far. I also heard the explosion just now, so I came over to watch the show. As a veteran Best Actor, Chen Guang didn't have any extravagant hopes that his words could fool Bai Hua. However, he still tried his best to control his expression and tone, bringing out his acting skills to the limit. I'm the benchmark of the current generation of actors. I'm super dedicated. As long as I want to act, I have to act well. Unexpectedly, Bai Hua, who was driving, only said, "Oh, so that's how it is." Chen Guang was stunned. F***CK. What do you mean, so that's how it is? You believe me just like that? My brother. What's going on in your head? Bai Hua immediately changed the topic. Actually, when you mentioned the Zhenwu continent to us in the afternoon, Jingwei, and I thought you were just talking nonsense. Later, we thought that you might have suddenly become a martial arts expert and showed signs of Qigong deviation. Isn't it also shown in the TV series? Martial arts experts all have heart demons. Maybe you unknowingly developed hallucinations and really thought that you had transmigrated. Bai Hua comforted Chen Guang, but it's not a big deal. I believe that you will be able to walk out of it. Chen Guang rolled his eyes. Thank you, Brother Bai, for your auspicious words. Something's wrong. Something's really wrong. Why is he so calm? Why did he suddenly mention heart demons? This doesn't make sense, right? How can this guy be so calm after seeing me in this state? What kind of terrible thought was going through his mind just now? Chen Guang looked down at the pink dress on his body. Oh my God, I'm so ashamed. Wait, what is this guy thinking? Does he think that I practice martial arts to the point of Qigong deviation and open some strange attribute in my heart? I just said that I was jogging at night. He thinks that I've been possessed by heart demons and turned into a pervert who likes to wear women's clothes and stroll on the streets at night. Damn, what a scam. Brother Bai, let me explain. No. You don't have to explain. I understand, really. What do you understand? Times are different now. Society is improving and people's views are evolving. Although your hobby is a little special, everyone has their own unique hobby. Just like I have a weird hobby. When I drink yogurt, I have to stir it with a spoon for a long time. It's also very awkward, right? It's really not what you think. You don't have to explain it to me on purpose. I won't laugh at you. This isn't something to be ashamed of. Don't worry, I will never tell anyone about it. No wonder you could harden your heart to reject Shuriwa back then. At that time, I couldn't understand it. Now I understand that you already had signs of this at that time, right? It's just that it wasn't as serious as it is now. Chen Guang's eyes widened. Does this mean that this fellow's thinking is even more biased than what I'm worried about? Not only does he think that I have a hobby of cross-dressing and jogging at night, he even thinks that I don't like women at all. If I knew it would be like this, I might as well just directly admit to the matter with Jiang Yage. However, this kind of thing can't be seen by ordinary people. Since I saw it, why don't you go to my room and change into a set of clothes? This time, other than looking for you, I have other business matters to attend to. I have to stay for 2 more days, so I brought a change of clothes with me. No need. Oh, it's fine. Are you going to wait until dawn before you change? Sorry. I didn't mean to pry into your privacy. I just couldn't hold back my curiosity. I'm a jungler. Are you done yet? Your casual tone makes me want to strangle you to death. Chen Guang clenched his fists so hard that his knuckles turned white. He was trying his best to control his urge to kill him. He really wanted to be like in the Men in Black movies. He wanted to grab a flash and take a picture of this guy's head, causing him to completely lose his memory. Forget it. I'll just strangle you to death. By the way, you really look like Miss Chen, you dress like this. Even your eyebrows are 50 to 60% similar. I've been guessing the relationship between the two of you. In fact, you're her younger brother, right? Chen Guang's heart skipped a beat. This guy's foxtail is about to be revealed. Don't change the topic. My clothes. Hey, look at how loyal I am to help you keep your secret. I'm also sincere to your sister. Just do me a favor and help me ask her out later, okay? Chen Guang's breathing became heavier. Not good. The old man's killing intent is about to go out of control. Who the hell has the mood to care about your trivial matters now? Tomorrow, the old man will be busy with something big, and you're telling me this now? Are you trying to make me laugh? In fact, he really couldn't blame Bai Hua. In the afternoon, after he and Lin Jingwei's attempt to smooth things over failed, Lin Jingwei returned to school. As for Bai Hua, he went to attend the reception hosted by Tianjin Energy. He also didn't know that Jiang Yage had actually followed him closely. She had quietly come to Five Capital City without everyone knowing and was also staying at the same hotel. At the company's reception, he drank 2 more glasses. Later, after he came out, he also called the elders in Yinjing and asked about Chen Guang. At that time, the elders in Yinjing thought that they had already secretly sold Jiang Yage to Chen Guang, so this matter should be over. At that time, they simply told Bai Huan not to ask about it anymore and that the matter was over. Bai Hua believed it. If Chen Guang did not pursue the matter, it meant that the matter was completely over. So now, in his mind, the problem was on a completely different level from Chen Guang's. Bai Hua thought that the fire and explosion at the place where Chen Guang had walked past was just an ordinary car accident. He didn't have a mood to care about it. On the other side, Chen Guang's lungs were about to explode. Seeing that he really couldn't talk to Bai Hua, he regretted getting in his car. Seeing that Bai Hua was going to drive into the hotel again, he didn't have much time to think. He opened the door, jumped out, and closed Bai Hua's door. Relying on his super strength and invincible body, he landed on the ground with a perfect posture and shouted, "Goodbye." At the same time, he bounced off the ground and ran forward. Bai Hua stopped the car and watched Chen Guang's figure disappear into the woods. "Hey, don't jump out of the car. If you don't want to, just pretend that I didn't mention it. I was just joking with you. I'm not the kind of person who would use this kind of thing to blackmail you. But you've already blackmailed me. You despicable person who says one thing but means another." Chen Guang didn't want to talk to him at all and disappeared in a few leaps. He took a big detour and finally returned to Jiang Yage's villa. At this time, Jiang Yage didn't hide in the air raid shelter. Instead, she was sitting in the living room, dressed properly, waiting for him. "They're all gone?" Chen Guang asked as soon as he entered the door. Jiang Yage nodded. "Yes. Did you catch them?" "I was a step too late and was silenced. I didn't want to complicate matters, so I came back directly." "What did the people at the hotel ask?" "They asked a lot of things, but I didn't say anything. My grandfather called and said that he would send someone to pick me up immediately. We have to change places tonight. I'm sorry to have dragged you into this." "It's nothing. Didn't you protect me too?" "What did your grandfather say?" "He was very angry." Don't be nervous. I didn't talk to him about us. He just asked you to go to Jing immediately. It's best if you leave with me tomorrow morning. They've now controlled Chao Jingming, but they still don't have any evidence. They will hold an interrogation meeting when you arrive." Chen Guang grinned. Chao Jingming's actions had indeed touched the taboo. If he had succeeded in finding a killer, he might have been questioned by all parties. But as long as he refused to admit it and refused to give in, no one could do anything to him without evidence. Some people want his life, but others would protect him. But now, not only did he not succeed, but his true intentions were revealed. Today, he threatened his and Jiang Yage's lives. This completely angered Jiang Yage's grandfather, but at the same time, it made others feel threatened. "You're finally willing to interrogate Chao Jingming, but his hands and feet are so clean, and there's no evidence that can be used against him. You can't learn from Detective Conan and come up with a deduction. You can't make him confess everything just by saying that you're the murderer, right? Since Chao Jingming dared to do it, although he didn't consider everything thoroughly, he was still a person with some means." Chapter 9:30. The two chatted for a while, and Chen Guang decided not to wait for the people sent by old Jiang. Instead, he drove Jiang Yage to the headquarters of the Guangding Bureau. On the way, he called old Jiang, and the old men there also thought that Chen Guang's people were more reliable. Tonight was obviously a restless night, but at Jiang Yage's villa, the bullets were completely shattered by Chen Guang's fists, and they did not leave any obvious traces. The big bomb was detonated in the pond by the Holy Grail. Although it was loud at the time, by the time people arrived, there was no sound, and the Holy Grail had sunk to the bottom of the water. Chen Guang was too lazy to bring up this matter again. The person who did it was Chao Jingming, so the police of the Five Capital could not do anything about it. If the matter was accidentally blown up, and Wu Tong, who had returned to the Five Capital as the bureau chief, knew that he was involved, it would be troublesome if he got involved. In the large city of Five Capital, even people like Bai Hua, Lin Jingwei, and Secretary Ma were not qualified to participate in this matter. Only Qin Guang, as the person involved, had the right and ability to continue to pursue this matter. If it continued to blow up, it would do no good to anyone. The two did not even wait until the next morning. About 2 hours later, they boarded the plane that would set off at 6:30 in the morning. Originally, Xian Qin, Wu Miaowan, and several other experts from the headquarters also wanted to go with them, but Qin Guang refused. He did not want to give the impression that he had tied the entire headquarters to himself to threaten others. There was no practical meaning to it. If something really happened, it was more convenient for him to come and go as he pleased. If he brought them along, it would mean that he had to fight to the death. Although he had a problem with the old men, he also understood that the country actually needed them. Over the years, Huaxia had gone from a weak post-war country to a situation where everyone had clothes to wear and food to eat in just a short period of 50 to 60 years. Although there were still problems in this era, if it were someone else, they might not have done as well as the old men. There was a fundamental difference between Qin Guang and Ouyang Tianxing. He was not that selfish, nor did he need to be. Everything that Qin Guang wanted was in his cup. These things in the secular world were all there to better serve the cup. He didn't need to plunder any resources from other people in this world. He had his 3,000 worlds and sea of stars. Before he became the master of the Holy Grail, he was a young man of the new era who grew up under the influence of the 4 modernizations and the 5-starred red flag. He had a deep-rooted view of people and things, and he had no intention of changing it. As soon as the plane arrived in Yanjing, they were picked up by Old Zhang's car. Old Zhang's face was livid. When he saw his granddaughter's pale face, his face darkened even more. "You were scared yesterday, right? I already know everything." Jiang Yage actually wanted to tell him that she wasn't scared. The mess in the villa was caused by Qin Guang's kick. There was another reason why her face was pale. The 5 seconds last night were really unbearable, but she didn't dare to say it. She just held her suitcase tightly, shook her head, and said, "I'm fine. I don't know what happened, but Qin Guang went after them." Well, thanks to little Chun. Qin Guang didn't dare to take credit. "No, they came for me. If I hadn't been there, it wouldn't have had anything to do with Solomon. Forget it. Let's not talk about it anymore. Anyway, we thought things were too simple. If we had warned Chao Jingming earlier, things wouldn't have become like this." Qin Guang curled his lips. He didn't even want to give old Jiang a way out. "I'm not happy. No, I have to give him another blow." "Oh, Grandpa Jiang, are you suspecting him now?" Old Jiang was stunned by Qin Guang's words. Qin Guang really didn't give him any face. Jiang Yage quietly poked Qin Guang's waist. Qin Guang didn't notice it at all. "It's still the same problem, right? No evidence, right?" "Yes, no evidence." "Then why can you interrogate him now?" Old Jiang was finally annoyed by Qin Guang's sarcastic teasing. "Brat, shut up. I haven't asked you what you two did last night. Why were you in Solomon's room?" Qin Guang's face stiffened. "Oh no, I've been caught in a trap. What happened last night was too short. Later, I fell asleep and was woken up halfway. On the way to Yanjing, I fell into a deep sleep from time to time. Now I almost forgot that Jiang Yage seemed to have been eaten by me, didn't I? No, it was me who was eaten by her. She felt that she was inexplicably feeling a little inferior in her heart." He turned to look at Jiang Yage, trying to understand her mind. If Jiang Yage wanted him to say it directly, Qin Guang didn't intend to hide it. As a man, he had to admit it. If she had the ability, she could kill him. But if Jiang Yage didn't want to be exposed for the time being, he would follow her wishes. Anyway, she had the final say. As soon as her eyes met Qin Guang's, Jiang Yage carefully looked at the back of her grandpa's bald head sitting in the passenger seat. A second later, she shook her head like a rattle. Qin Guang understood. "Grandpa Jiang, didn't you ask Solomon to persuade me? I thought that she was a celebrity, and I am also a celebrity now. It would have a big impact if we met outside, so I simply sent Solomon back to the hotel." "And what did you say? What did you do?" Old Jiang turned his head and asked, gnashing his teeth. Qin Guang looked calm. Actually, I didn't say anything. Solomon asked me to understand your difficulties, and I understood. Then we briefly talked about the drama that Solomon was shooting recently. I would probably join the crew next week at the latest. To be honest, I invested a lot of money in this drama, and I couldn't afford to lose it. Later, we talked about poetry and the philosophy of life. I was a little sleepy, and it was not convenient for me to drive, so I simply stayed in the guest room of Solomon's villa. I planned to go back to school early the next morning, but I didn't expect that something like that would happen again. Jiang Yage quickly changed the topic and added fuel to the fire. Yes, I finally persuaded him not to pursue it, but Chao Jingming is old Jiang's side. Young people nowadays really don't understand the rules. Shen Guang snorted. This can't be explained by the words "don't understand the rules," right? He wanted to kill me. Old Jiang knew that what Shen Guang said was reasonable. That's why we have to hold this trial today. Whether he wants to give you or us an explanation, he has to give us an explanation. But there's no evidence, right? What do we do? Yesterday, old Chao came to Wujing to find me in person. Isn't his intention obvious? Old Jiang fell silent again. Shen Guang was right. Old Chao would definitely side with his family, because once he was convicted, he would be sentenced to death. If it was someone else who wanted to deal with Jiang Yuanchao might be sentenced to death. Old man Jiang would never give up so easily. Even if he had to lose his head, he would fight to the end, even if he had to sacrifice his dignity. Jiang Yage also wanted to go to the trial, but old Jiang didn't agree. Instead, he asked the driver and the guards to send her back to the West Mountain Villa. Old Jiang had protected her very well all these years, keeping her away from these things. This time, she was accidentally involved, and her life was immediately in danger. Old Jiang was also scared and had to be more careful. Although Chao Jingming was now under control, he had been in business for many years. It was impossible for him to not have any trusted aides outside. Even Jean Shiyue's filming at the Vertical Shop Film City had been temporarily halted. She had also returned to the villa to wait for the limelight to pass. Zhengming, things have come to this point. We watched you grow up, and we don't want things to turn out like this. But this time, you really went too far. Tell us what you think. You have done it, and you have to give us an explanation. In the conference room, a group of old men were sitting, each with different expressions. Chao Jingming sat at the bottom. His face was a little pale, but his expression was still calm. He put his hands on his knees and rubbed his fingers against each other, slightly revealing his nervousness at this time. Leaders, I don't know what you were talking about. Yes, things had come to this point, and he didn't intend to give in. He knew that he couldn't give in, or he would definitely die. Even his father, who was sitting at the top of the table, couldn't save him. Old Lin, you can't be so sure. We have done a lot of investigations recently, and indeed, we couldn't find any evidence that Xiao Chao was involved in this matter. Maybe he is a remnant of Ouyang Tianxing? That's right. Xiao Chao has been around for so many years. Although he is a little arrogant, he has never made a mistake of principle. We can't just judge him based on subjective assumptions. Old Jean looked at the people around him with a gloomy face. From time to time, he would look up at old Lin in the middle. It seemed that old Chao, who had rushed back last night, had done a lot of work for others. Not to mention the others, old Jean had actually received a call from old Chao. At this time, he did a rough count in his heart. Other than a few people who hadn't expressed their opinions, nearly half of the people present were on old Chao's side. Chao Jingming carefully observed everyone. Last night, when he found out that Shen Guang wasn't dead, he had actually thought about escaping. However, the world was so big. Where could he escape to? Furthermore, Shen Guang wasn't an ordinary person. His personal strength was so terrifying. Even if he escaped, he would be found sooner or later. Then, even if the others didn't pursue it, if Shen Guang continued to chase after him, who could stop him? Luckily, my father helped me, and I didn't leave behind any evidence. The current situation was that even if the entire world knew that I did it, there were so many people speaking up for me. As long as I didn't admit it, they couldn't do anything to me just based on their guesses. Chao Jingming took a deep breath. His mind quickly went through the words that he had communicated with his father, and then he opened his mouth. Leaders, I don't understand what's going on. Chen Guang accused me of colluding with Ouyang Tianxing and purposely lured him to Ninghai. But in reality, even if I wasn't involved, wouldn't he still go to Ninghai? Moreover, with his original position, he had the right to know the whereabouts of Lord Wen. Yes, I did have a little conflict with Chen Guang before, but that was just a trivial matter. Why would I take it to heart? With my identity, why would I collude with Ouyang Tianxing? What good would it do me? I didn't have to. All right, now that things have come to this, I admit that I did mention it to Jiang Yage carelessly, but I didn't think too much at that time. I just wanted to be friendly with him and ease our relationship. If my careless words caused trouble to Chen Guang, I can apologize to him. But other than that, I don't know anything, and I didn't do anything. He couldn't deny anything. If he admitted that he leaked information to Jiang Yage, he could increase his credibility. But he definitely couldn't admit what happened last night. At this moment, the door of the conference room opened. Chen Guang and old Jiang stood side by side at the door. Chapter 9:31. Chao Jingming turned around and saw Chen Guang. Not only did he not avoid Chen Guang's gaze, a warm and humble smile appeared on his face. If Chen Guang was not a world-class acting master, he would have been fooled by Chao Jingming's kindness. Chen Guang had heard every word that the man had said, and he wanted to say to Chao Jingming, "I have never seen such a shameless person." Shamelessness was the passport of a despicable person. It was a pity that Chao Jingming did not become an actor. Chao Jingming was also well versed in the theory of falsehood and truth. He had admitted some of what he had admitted and said that Chao Jingming was showing goodwill to him. As for the things that were truly fatal, Chao Jingming was adamant and refused to admit them. At the same time, Chen Guang was also paying attention to the way the people in the meeting room looked at him. Everyone here was a smart person, and everyone looked very amiable. Even old Chao had a warm smile on his face, making people feel like they were bathing in the spring breeze. However, it was a pity that Chen Guang was a world-class acting master and a martial sage who had reached the oneness of heaven and man realm. No matter how well they acted or how amiable their eyes were, they could not hide it from Chen Guang. As long as a person had hatred in his heart, no matter how well he hid it in his eyes or how calm his brows were, there would definitely be some flaws in his facial muscles. However, these flaws were too hidden and ordinary people would not be able to see them with their naked eyes. Furthermore, even if someone had sharp eyes and could see the problem, they would not be able to understand the meaning behind it due to their lack of life experience. It was a pity that Chen Guang was a martial sage and he had a pair of eagle eyes that he had learned from practicing darts. Furthermore, his acting skills had reached the pinnacle of the human race. Now that he had something on his mind, he was fully focused on understanding it. Coupled with the attraction of the heaven and earth, the hostility of these people could not hide. After pondering for a short while, he walked in with a faint smile on his face. Chen Guang greets all the leaders. He still acted like a martial artist and cupped his fists in greeting. He was very Jianghu. "Xiao Chun, take a seat." The old man waved his hand and gestured for Chen Guang to sit down. Chen Guang did not hesitate. He pulled out the chair next to Chao Jingming and sat down. Don't be fooled by how mysterious and incredible this place is. In fact, they're the universal principle when it comes to making decisions in this world. Meeting. There was no better way to combine everyone's wisdom and take everyone's opinions into consideration than a meeting. Old Master Jiang sat down next to Old Master Jean. Old Master Jean asked softly, "What did little Chun say on the way here?" Master Jiang stamped his feet angrily and said, "Don't mention it. Solomon said that she finally got Chen Guang's work done yesterday, but such a thing happened last night. It's useless to say anything now. This kid is holding back his anger right now. I have a feeling that he'll make a scene later. In the past, if he didn't make a scene in front of us, things could still be eased. Today, everyone is here, and it can be considered a big occasion. If he continues to make a scene, there will be no room for negotiation." Old Master Jiang said grumpily, "He already wants my granddaughter in his life. What room do we need?" "That's true, but according to the situation today, I'm afraid our efforts will be in vain." Old Master Jean smiled bitterly. Old Master Jiang raised his eyebrows and said, "What do you mean? Are you going to pretend that nothing has happened?" Old Master Jean said helplessly, "But according to the information at the scene last night, the person who did it was burned beyond recognition. No, there was no corpse left at that time. Although there were traces of fighting at the scene, the fragments were too broken, and we can't identify the model, nor can we find any fragments with codes. We can't prove anything." Thinking of this, Old Master Jiang sighed. "That's true. He's full of tricks, cunning, and sinister." Yesterday, Old Chow talked to a lot of people. The general idea was that although Chao Zhengming is suspicious, we can't touch his son just because of speculation. So, can we really turn a big problem into a small one and a small one? Chao Zhengming's son is alive, but my granddaughter is alive? What a joke. Look at you, you are angry again, right? That brings us back to the old story. Evidence. There is no evidence. Is there no evidence in the communication system? There is no record of it. At this moment, Grandpa Jiang fell into silence. He was wondering if he really had to do as Chun Guang threatened Old Chow yesterday and make a move himself. This wasn't something to be trifled with. On the other side, the old man in the middle waited for Chun Guang to sit down and said, "Okay, now that everyone is here, let's make it clear." Hearing this, Chun Guang was expressionless, but his heart was already half cold. Make it clear? What was there to make it clear? It was a matter of life and death. Was there any need to negotiate? On the other side, Chao Zhengming had already stood up when he heard this. He took the initiative to reach out to Chun Guang and said, "Little Chun, we had some small conflicts before, but the whole thing was a misunderstanding. I have no malice. I have just explained to the leaders. The reason why I mentioned it to Solomon was that I wanted to help you." Chun Guang crossed his hands and had no interest in shaking hands with him. "Help me? Don't tell me I have to thank you. You're exaggerating. I didn't help much, but I did something bad out of good intentions. Since you have such a big opinion of me, I'll apologize to you here today in front of everyone. How about we let this matter go?" Chun Guang almost laughed. He had underestimated the thickness of this person's skin. Unexpectedly, in the huge conference room, many people began to echo Chao Zhengming's words one after another. What these people meant was that there was no need to make such a big deal out of such a small matter. After explaining to each other, the matter was over. Lil Chao had already apologized in public. Even if he really did something bad with good intentions, there was no need to hold on to it. From the beginning to the end, Chun Guang looked at these people with a blank expression. There was an indescribable, strange feeling in his heart. He seemed to be hallucinating. In his eyes, these seemingly kind old men were smiling so warmly. But in his eyes, there were clearly all kinds of demons and ghosts. The smiles on their faces made people feel no warmth in their hearts. It was all bone-piercing cold. Chun Guang felt that he would definitely not be able to learn this in his life. Weren't they tired of living like this? Before, Chao Zhengming deliberately leaked the news, which could be put aside. Last night's incident, they actually completely ignored it? Just as Chun Guang was thinking about this, another person next to Old Chow stood up and placed a stack of documents on the table. He said, "All right, since we've spoken, then the matter between Little Chow and Little Chun is over. As for what happened to Little Chun last night, after a thorough investigation by the intelligence department overnight, there are some new findings here." As he said this, he pushed the thick stack of documents in his hand towards Chun Guang. He said, "According to the analysis of the intelligence personnel, all signs indicate that this is very likely to be a revenge operation initiated by the trusted subordinates of the former director of the Special Affairs Bureau, Ouyang Tianxing. Fortunately, Little Chun is now powerful, so he was able to turn the misfortune into a blessing. I think we should further strengthen the crackdown on the remnants of the Special Affairs Bureau. On the other hand, we should also give Little Chun an appropriate commendation." Chun Guang did not even bother to flip through the documents in front of him. There was no need to look at them. Since they could come up with something like this in this situation, the documents must be flawless and impeccable. However, no matter how well it was done, Chun Guang was not the least bit interested. He knew that it must be fake. Ouyang Tianxing's way of controlling his subordinates did not have any special methods. He relied on nothing more than a unique poison that only he had the antidote for. Now that Ouyang Tianxing was dead, even if his trusted subordinates were lucky enough to survive, they would probably be in a constant state of anxiety, afraid of dying from the poison. How would they have the leisure and courage to seek revenge for Ouyang Tianxing? Every man for himself, and Ouyang Tianxing did not have that much charisma. Little Chun, take a look at the documents. You're the director of the General Directorate of Light. There's no harm in knowing more information. Old Man Chow said with a smile. He felt that today's situation was already in the bag. Chen Guang looked up slightly, his eyes flashing. He said coldly, I won't look at the documents. It's meaningless. I just think that your acting was really good. Everyone was stunned. Old Chow furrowed his brows. What did you say? No one expected Chen Guang to say something like that in this situation. Chen Guang raised his voice again. I say, your acting was really good. It's a pity that I didn't invite you old actors to the movie I invested in. Little Chun, this is an official meeting. Don't mess around. Even the old man in the middle could not hold it in. Chen Guang was slapping all of them in the face. As Chen Guang chuckled, he asked, what did I not say? Do you guys really think that I was being unreasonable before? That I was making a fuss? Chao Jingming used Jiang Yage to leak information to me. Was it really to help me? Even a 3-year-old wouldn't believe it. Also, I know that Chao Jingming's hands are very clean. Since he did it, he wouldn't leave any evidence behind. But what I encountered last night was the new armor-piercing depleted uranium bomb that I saw during the military exercise. How could Ouyang Tianxing's men get their hands on such a thing? Or is it that Chao Jingming is actually Ouyang Tianxing's man? Are you indirectly helping him admit it? Nonsense. You're slandering me. Chao Jingming was furious, as though he had been wronged. Chen Guang, don't think that you can slander others without a bottom line, just because you have some success now. Every armor-piercing bomb has a serial number and is registered. Even if one is missing, we can find it immediately. Chen Guang turned to look at him. Since you can say such things, I'm even more certain that you actually know everything. You're also prepared. Rules are set by people. You know better than me how to cheat. You know it all. Enough. Have you become so condescending to this extent? You're so sure that I want to harm you based on your assumptions. Now, you're saying that I hired someone to kill you? If you want to pin a crime on someone, you can always find a pretext. Didn't I tease you a little about your youth? I didn't expect you to be so narrow-minded. You've always hated me, haven't you? Now that you think you're strong enough, you want to settle the score with me? What do you want? You're just acting on your own selfishness. Do you want me to kill you because I did something bad with my good intentions? That's ridiculous. Everything needs evidence. Everything needs laws. Don't forget, although you're a martial artist today, you're also the chief of the Guangding General Headquarters. Weren't you the one who hated the most when interforce martial artists looked down on laws and treated human lives like grass? Now that you're in the same position as Ouyang Tianxing, do you want to become the same person as Ouyang Tianxing? Do you want to lynch me? Come on. If my death can awaken some people, and let the leaders understand that martial artists are wolves that cannot be tamed, then I'm willing to sacrifice myself. Chao Jingming's words were sharp, and he was retreating in order to advance. Chapter 9:32. If it wasn't for the fact that Chen Guang had already seen through everything and was certain that Chao Jingming was the culprit, he might even start to doubt himself. He was right. The old man was the new Ouyang Tianxing. The other elders in the room were secretly terrified. Chao Jingming was not lying. No, the current Chen Guang was even stronger than Ouyang Tianxing in the past. He was also younger, and his abilities would continue to improve in the future. Other than Chen Guang, the second most powerful person in the martial world, faction leader one, was also one of his people. His power and prestige among the sects in the martial world was even stronger than Ouyang Tianxing's, who had climbed up step by step with schemes and tricks. Ouyang Tianxing had cultivated the ultimate divine skill, and his actions were the style of the evil sects in the martial world. Chen Guang, on the other hand, had appeared out of nowhere. Once he appeared, he displayed absolute dominance and turned the tide to destroy the evil sections. His position and reputation in the hearts of the people of Jianghu would have made him the leader of a righteous sect in ancient times. No one would have dared to disobey him. The talent he displayed on the path of martial arts was also a rare, peerless genius that only appeared once in 1,000 years. Qiao Jingming's words reminded everyone that Chen Guang was actually more dangerous than Ouyang Tianqing. With Chen Guang's current position and ability, if he had any ulterior motives, or if he completely lost control, the consequences he would bring would be even worse than Ouyang Tianqing's. Compared to the potential danger Chen Guang was in, the assassination attempt the night before was insignificant. Firstly, Chen Guang wasn't injured. Although it seemed dangerous last night, there weren't any casualties, and only an insignificant assassin died. Secondly, even if everyone guessed that it was Qiao Jingming who did it, it did not matter whether Qiao Jingming admitted it or not. Even if it was him, so what? It could even be understood as him getting rid of a scourge for the people. He did something to Chen Guang, but it did not mean that he would do it to others. Jiang Yage was almost implicated, but she had no other choice. Moreover, there was no evidence to prove Qiao Jingming's suspicions. Wouldn't it be too unfair to suspect him based on baseless guesses? Although Xiao Qiao's temperament had always been somewhat unlikable, he had never made a mistake of principle. As old Qiao's son and one of the representatives of the younger generation, he had no reason to collude with Ouyang Tianqing, right? This thought gradually rose in the hearts of many old men, and the atmosphere suddenly became cold. Even Chen Guang felt a trace of coldness. This was their true colors. Without the slightest scheming and honeyed words, who could have walked step by step to where they were today in the seemingly harmonious, but actually surging undercurrents in the officialdom and sat on the occasion that more than 1 billion people could only look up to and imagine, but never had any chance to see or participate in with their own eyes. Although the people sitting on the table were all old men with 1 nose and 2 eyes, every old man here was someone who could shake the country with a stomp of their feet. Qiao Jingming saw that his words were effective and was secretly pleased, but he still looked impassioned and ready to die at any time. Chen Guang felt the doubtful gazes directed at him from all directions. He also realized that he had accidentally been countered by Qiao Jingming in front of everyone. Among the old men present, Old Man Jin and Old Man Jiang were slightly better. They had often heard their juniors mention Chen Guang's character and did not believe he was that kind of person. Old Man Lin was in a similar situation, but he could not resist the other old men who were not familiar with Chen Guang. Many of them had listened to Old Man Qiao's sophistry, and now that Qiao Jingming had exposed them, combined with the various uncooperative attitudes Chen Guang had displayed in the past few days, it was impossible for them not to have any thoughts. The hostility in the meeting room grew stronger and stronger. Chen Guang's brows were tightly knitted together. Damn it, so treacherous. The old man was not in a good situation. There were 2 choices in front of Chen Guang. First, think of a way to use words to change the situation in this meeting, but it seemed very difficult. Second, a gentleman does not stand under a collapsing wall. He should immediately flee 1,000 miles away, find a place to concentrate on practicing martial arts, collect faith, and break through the cup world. He should wait until he became a god, or at least a demigod who could resist missiles with his body. His palm caressed the heavenly Holy Grail, and his breathing gradually calmed down. He thought to himself, I'm afraid I really have to leave. No, I still have Lady Azure. If I really can't do it, I can beg Lady Azure to help me and use a super hypnosis on Old Man Qiao. Dream on. If you have the guts, come into the cup world and beg me to try. I promise I won't beat you to death. Just as he was thinking this, Azure's voice was heard. This was not the end. Deercry also expressed, That's right, I'll let you have a taste of the power of a woman's double attack. When I woke up, my leaves were almost all gone. My branches and trunks are all burnt off. Chen Guang shuddered. Fine, pretend I didn't think of anything. I almost forgot it was palm-sized TNT. The cup world would definitely be in a mess. If I went in now, Even if I didn't die, I would at least lose a layer of skin. Then I really can only pack up and leave? This is very unpleasant. At this moment, a voice came from the heavenly Holy Grail. It was neither azure nor deer cry. What Chen Guang heard was the emotionless electronic voice of the Holy Grail. Forced PY trading mode's cooldown is over. Redeemer can use it at any time. Chen Guang rejoiced. Oh my god, his skill's cooldown wasn't fixed, and it had come off cooldown at this critical moment. The old man was indeed a man shrouded in the aura of a protagonist. Count yourself lucky. Oomph. Azure also noticed this and snorted in Chen Guang's heart. Deer Cry also snorted. That's right. Don't come in here for the rest of your life if you can. Old Master Guang expressed to the two god emperors that the old man was a dead pig that feared no boiling water. He had seen all kinds of storms and waves. He just had to do something to make them happy later, to coax them. He should, probably wouldn't be strangled to death. In short, things suddenly became simple. Chen Guang turned his head and looked at Qiao Jingming with a very meaningful look. An extremely strange smile appeared on his face. It couldn't be helped. Old Master Guang couldn't control his joy at the thought of being able to force him into a rather shameless PUI trading mode. Well, he could actually control his expression, but he didn't want to. Why bother? If he didn't show off when he should be happy, did he have to wait until he was unlucky before showing off? Chen Guang was overly happy. The strange smile that suddenly appeared on his face even changed the slightly cold atmosphere in the conference room into a horrifying one. What's with that look, little Chen? He's not going to do anything stupid, is he? Old Jiang turned pale with fright. The next moment, he was about to slam the table and stand up. He absolutely couldn't let Chen Guang do something irrecoverable in this place. Even with his current ability, he could subdue everyone here in an instant and then leave. But in this vast Huaxia, even if these people in the conference room died, there would be others to replace them. But if he did that, he would become the enemy of the entire country. No, the entire world. Old Jiang himself wasn't afraid. He also knew that Chen Guang wouldn't kill him, Old Jean, and Old Lin, but the same couldn't be said for the others. That was absolutely not allowed. Not only would he be pressured by the laws and human relationships, but it would also completely turn him onto the evil path and leave an indelible mark in his heart. This was completely different from killing those assassins. A martial artist who was known as the strongest inner force user in history would walk the path of evil. Either he would destroy the world, or the world would destroy him. Old Jean and Old Jiang had the same idea. Old Jean moved even faster. He bowed slightly, and in the next moment, he would stand up. Old Lin, who was in the middle, frowned. In his hand was a phone with Lin Jingwei's number on it. The old man didn't know who could stop Chen Guang if he went completely crazy. After thinking about it, he felt that the friendship between his grandson and Chen Guang might be of some use. He secretly regretted trusting him unreservedly and letting him come to this place. If anything happened to anyone here today, it would be a huge disaster. As for those who were already hostile towards Chen Guang, they were even more panicked now. Although there was no recording of Chen Guang's battle with Ouyang Tianxing and the Shadow Alliance's warriors, the scene of him slaughtering dozens of powerful warriors with a wave of his hand was still vividly portrayed in the conference room. Everyone knew that as long as he wanted to make a move, no one could do anything to him. Right now, the ones who were the most afraid were the Qiao father and son. Chen Guang might not kill the others, but the two of them would be the first to bear the brunt of it. It would be hard for them to escape death. Qiao Jingming retreated as he shouted, Chen Guang, what are you doing? Chen Guang, stop. Old Man Jean had already shouted. Old Jiang slammed the table heavily. Little Chen, don't do anything rash. Don't worry. I'm here. No one could suspect you. Old Lin coughed heavily, his hands pressing down slightly. Everyone be quiet. Listen to me. Hearing those words, Chen Guang was briefly stunned. Holy shit. Why are these old gentlemen acting as if they're facing a great enemy? Little Chen, calm down. Qiao Jingming, apologize to little Chen now. Immediately. Immediately. Old Lin glared at Qiao Jingming. Qiao Jingming didn't dare to delay. I'm sorry, Qingguang. My words were too harsh. I shouldn't have compared you to Ouyang Tianxing. You guys are different. Old Master Guang finally understood. All right, the old men thought that he was going to smash the cup as a signal to attack in anger. They were afraid. To this, he could only say, "What the F asterisk CK? Am I that kind of person in your hearts?" Forget it. He couldn't blame them. In their eyes, no. In his eyes, internal strength warriors had ultimate skills. They indeed had the ability to kill in anger. Wasn't there an ancient saying that the so-called heroes were actually more like desperados? If they were unhappy, they would kill a person every 10 steps, leaving no trace behind. In their eyes, he was like a walking killing machine, so it was not strange that they were afraid of him. It was just that it was disgusting. To think that I respected you guys so much, but you guys are guarding against me like a wolf. Chapter 9:33. Xiao Chun, listen to me. Although Ouyang Tianxing has indeed set a bad example for other martial artists, I know that you are completely different from him. Jingwei often talks to me about your brotherhood. In the past, you were also a righteous person. We trusted you because of that. You were just an ordinary youth then. Now, we trust you as well. There is no need for unnecessary suspicions. Qingguang waved his hand. Grandpa Lin, that's enough. It's said that an innocent man gets into trouble because of his wealth. Now that I have the ability, I am also mentally prepared to face the disadvantages of this ability. I understand now. No wonder Lin Jingwei would rather die than become a politician. He has seen this kind of thing many times since he was young. You don't have to feign civility with me. I won't look down on everyone here because of this. It's just that I thought of something that Lin Jingwei and I mentioned in a casual conversation. Chun Guang pointed at himself first, then at the others. He said word by word, I told Lin Jingwei that we will never become you. I don't want to be this stupid bureau chief. If it wasn't for you guys who couldn't hold back and wanted me to pack up and leave for no reason, I would have quit long ago. What do you take me for? A hothead who is bossed around? When you need me, you let me take over. All right, I'll take over. Now that Ouyang Tianxing is dead, I have subdued the martial artists in the pugilistic world. You don't need me anymore. You want me to leave immediately? Do you think I'm a 3-year-old kid? I didn't want to say these things out loud. It's fine for everyone to keep in their hearts. My original intention was only for Chao Jingming to give me an explanation and find a suitable time. You can let whoever you want to take over the Guangding General Bureau. I just want to go and live my carefree life. You treat this power as a treasure, but in my eyes, it's worthless. But what about you guys? Chao Jingming tried to harm me first, but because he is one of us, you let him do as he pleases. What happened to your decisiveness when you dealt with Ouyang Tianxing? Don't talk to me about ridiculous evidence. It's not that important. Last night, he went even further and hired people to kill me, but you're afraid and suspicious of me because of a few words from him? Grandpa Lin, I respect you as Lin Jingwei's grandfather, but that's the extent of my respect for you. You thought I was laughing because I was so angry that I want to flip the table? That's why you're saying such polite words. Are you trying to coax me first? Of course, I might not be giving you face by directly exposing you. In the past, even if others had opinions about you, they might not have said it out loud like me. I also wanted to endure it like others, but I found that I couldn't do it. When Chen Guang said these words, his emotions were not very agitated. He was still very calm. He had seen too many deaths in the true martial continent and the sea of transient, especially the 130,000 years he had lived in the true martial continent. Even though it did not directly change his personality, the experience of standing at the peak of the world and being worshipped by billions of people still made him think back to the past. Without any warning, he would jump out of his current position and stand on a higher level to look at the situation he was facing. At this moment, he had entered this state without any warning. After saying these words, Chen Guang looked around and saw the changes in everyone's expressions. Then, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly, and he said with a hint of mockery, If what I said made you uncomfortable, then I can only do nothing to help you. Even Chen Guang felt tired for them. In this kind of situation, none of these people's philosophy was the same as his own. Although they looked very inconspicuous here today, when they were outside, they might have enjoyed the pleasure of being surrounded by people. But if you want to mistreat yourself like this for the sake of power, then I'm sorry, but I'm not interested. Many of the old men's faces turned red from his words. No one had ever dared to speak to them like this. Even when they had a falling out with an inner-strength martial artist and had a letter placed on their bedside, those people had not been as presumptuous as Chun Guang. But today's situation was extremely delicate. No matter how angry they were, they did not dare to flip the table. No matter how clear this brat's words were, he was still a young man who was not even 21 years old. No one dared to bet on whether his self-control was as good as he said it was. The huge conference room suddenly became silent. Even the drop of a needle could be heard. The guards outside were sweating. They had just received an emergency signal. This kind of signal would only be released when the leaders were in a life-and-death crisis. But the guards did not dare to break the door. They could only anxiously watch Chun Guang talk inside through the monitor. "Isn't this Director Chun?" "This." A guard who had received special training from Chun Guang in darts whispered. The guard captain also sighed. "Don't talk nonsense. Although I also think it's impossible, the leaders will not send the signal for no reason. Don't let your guard down." "I still don't believe it. Chief Instructor Chun is a decent man. He won't act recklessly." Another guard said again. The captain looked at his two subordinates, who could be called the elites of the elites, and felt very helpless. He thought to himself, what are the big shots in the room doing? Don't quarrel with your own people. If you have something to say, talk it over slowly. Chun Guang spoke again. "I'll tell you why I laughed just now. I'm happy. Chao Jingming will soon find his conscience and tell us all about the demons and monsters hidden in his heart." Many of the old men in the meeting room were first ridiculed by his words to the point that their faces turned red. They were angry, but there was nothing they could do. However, the last sentence that he said, without rhyme or reason, made everyone even more confused. Even Chao Jingming, who was called out by name by Chun Guang, was dumbfounded. Is this guy crazy? Is he talking in his sleep? Will I tell them everything? There's no grass growing in my brain. Chao Jingming. Chun Guang, what are you trying to do? Chao Jingming forcibly suppressed his emotions and replied with a pause. With a grin, Chun Guang replied, "Nothing much. Come, be honest and tell me everything that happened between you and Ouyang Tianxing. Also, tell me who that person was last night, how you found that person, and what exactly are you plotting?" Chao Jingming felt like he was going crazy. Who asks questions like that? Do you think I'll answer just because you ask? Are you stupid? Do you think I'm stupid? Chao Jingming's words were almost squeezed out through his teeth. Chun Guang, that's enough. I have nothing to say. I have a clear conscience. Everyone in the conference room was stunned. They looked at each other. What was Chun Guang up to this time? Old man Chao braced himself and stood up. "All right, Chun Guang, stop fooling around. Since we've told you everything, and Jingming has apologized to you for what happened before, you, as the current chief of the General Directorate of Guangding, should do your best to continue investigating the remnants of Ouyang Tianxing. Don't worry, we'll get the other departments to cooperate with you. Why don't we end today's meeting here?" Old Man Chao said what most of the people were thinking. It was time to end the meeting. Due to the deep-rooted impression of him in the past, everyone had almost forgotten that this extremely emotional and slightly neurotic young man was actually the one who killed dozens of people without batting an eyelid or trembling his legs the day before yesterday without batting an eyelid or twitching his legs. Now that they thought about it, they were all a little scared. No matter how much power they only had one life. So, no matter what happened in the future, it was better to end this meeting first and leave first. Then, they could slowly plan for the future. Chun Guang didn't even look at Old Man Chao. He continued to stare at Chao Jingming and said slowly, "No, you will explain." This time, he didn't waste any more time and shouted in his heart, "Take this. Eat my shady deal." The next moment, the world in front of him suddenly distorted. Chao Jingming, who was standing in front of Chun Guang, also stiffened. His mind was in chaos, and he lost all consciousness without warning. He was forcefully dragged into the duel of words in the Forced Shady Deal by Chun Guang. Forced Shady Deal. Begin now. The electronic voice of the heavenly Holy Grail played the role of referee. Relying on his master language skill, Chen Guang took the initiative and launched an attack. He shouted loudly, "The sky is round and the earth is square." Golden light burst out of his mouth and blasted straight at Qiao Zhengming. Qiao Zhengming, who had completely lost his consciousness, was hit by Chen Guang's fallacy attack. He swayed, and the stone platform under him shattered into pieces. He fell down with a rumble. The electronic voice said, "You've caused 25 fallacy damage to the opponent." See two kids debating. Qiao Zhengming fought back decisively, and the golden light shot back at Chen Guang. The electronic voice said, "You've received 13 proverb damage." Chen Guang grinned. This guy's level was much better than the waiter at the Tianjin restaurant who had tricked him into paying 100 yuan. "But you're not good enough. Eat my critical hit." The special skill of Language Master was activated. Chen Guang waved his hand domineeringly and said, "I'm from Hebei province. What a cold winter. I'm so angry. 16,000 yuan. Play with your sister." The electronic voice said, "Critical hit. You've caused 44 empty ear damage to the opponent." As expected of Qiao Zhengming, he didn't faint after taking a critical hit. Although the stone platform under him sank a lot, he stood up shakily and replied, "Oh, you're in a hurry, right? Dig Sumida." Chen Guang sneered disdainfully. "You actually want to use empty ear damage to deal with me? But this trick of yours is too old." Sure enough, a notification that he hadn't seen last time appeared in front of him. The opponent used a foreign language empty ear attack to provoke the Language Master, Earth Sauce Exploder, and the God of Shady Deal, Savior Chen Guang. Counter activated. Do you want to use counter? F***CK. Does my title have to be so long? Chen Guang cursed in his heart as he raised his hand and pointed in the air. Counter successful. Chapter 9:34. A light shield appeared in front of him, and the golden light that Qiao Zhengming roared out was bounced back. You've dealt 10 points of counter ear damage to the opponent. At this moment, there was a duong sound on Qiao Zhengming's side, and a red light surged out of his body. Chen Guang looked up and saw a long groove burning with raging flames on his head. An electronic notification sounded. The opponent is the reckless type, Full Fury, about to trigger the state of fury. Chen Guang was stunned. There is such a thing? My Shady Deal was amazing. Qiao Zhengming's eyes were bloodshot, and he glared at Chen Guang. Chen Guang was also interested. The furious Qiao Zhengming actually made the first move again. It seemed like this reckless type of player had a speed bonus in the state of fury. He just didn't know what he was going to say. Can I say vulgarities? Can't I? That's all I have to say. You've received 15 points of internet slang damage. Chen Guang rolled his eyes. Fine, I thought you had some trump card up your sleeve, but it turns out that you only have this much. It was his turn again, but he wasn't in a hurry to fire. Instead, he communicated with the Holy Grail in his mind, wanting to know what type of shady deal player he was. Reckless, sinister, despicable, shameless, vulgar, wretched, and unyielding super complex type. Old Master Guang was stunned. If you hadn't reminded me, I wouldn't have known I was so complicated. He took a deep breath. Qiao Zhengming, die. Damn you. I have a word I don't know if I should say. I'm very strong this time. Invincible at level 16. High-level heavenly fire. Triple quality. I'm going to kill you, you old bald donkey. The sure kill attack he unleashed with all his might was indeed cool. An extremely thick golden light appeared in front of Chen Guang's mouth, but it didn't shoot out immediately. Instead, it kept growing in front of him, turning into a round ball that was spitting out terrifying light. Chen Guang was also puzzled. Why did this big move need to be charged up and not fire directly? At this moment, the electronic notification sounded again. Warning! Warning! Language Master, Earth Sauce Exploder, and God of Shady Trading Savior. Chen Guang have unleashed a super fatal attack. Too much damage has overflowed and may cause irreparable mental damage to your opponent. Will you attack? Why /N? Hearing those words, Chen Guang's eyes lit up. This reminded him of the weird video he had seen on Bilibili, where Zhuge Liang had a verbal battle with Wang Situ, and Wang Situ had vomited blood and fallen to the ground dead. In ancient times, there was Prime Minister Zhuge, who scolded Wang Situ to death and angered the sickly Dr. Zhou. Today, there was Master Guang, who scolded Cao Cao's distant descendant Cao Zhengming. This was completely reasonable. Verbal violence was terrifying, so let him have a taste. Snapping his fingers, Chen Guang raised his hand and tapped on Y in the air. The golden light in front of him, which had been accumulating power for a long time, suddenly exploded like an energy bomb, blasting straight at Cao Zhengming like a railgun. Cao Zhengming let out a blood-curdling scream as he fell to the ground, vomiting blood. The stone pillar beneath him also shattered with a loud bang. Poor Cao Zhengming flew far away on the magma, rolling countless times like he was skipping on water before slowly sinking like a rock. Super fatal attack. You've dealt 178 points of combined damage to the opponent from online slang and fatso sayings. You've defeated your opponent. Because the damage overflowed as high as 157 points, you've caused irreparable mental damage to your opponent. Remind Savior, a monk must be merciful. The world of shady trading slowly collapsed, and the world in front of Chen Guang distorted again. In the blink of an eye, he was back in the real world. However, he disapproved of the heavenly Holy Grail's last words. Ba ba ba. What do you mean a monk must be merciful? Which eye of yours saw me become a monk? He looked up at Cao Zhengming, not knowing what this guy's irreparable mental damage looked like. Cao Zhengming was stunned at first, completely unaware of what had happened. He just stared blankly at Chen Guang. Without any warning, he suddenly felt extremely remorseful. What's wrong with me? Why do I feel so guilty? I feel terrible hiding things in my heart. I've let my father down. I've let down the leaders' nurturing and trust. I've let down the country and the people, and I've let down myself. I'll let down Chen Guang even more. No, I've let down the entire world. A person like me actually has the face to live so shamelessly in this world. I'm really sorry. The shady trading that took place in the heavenly Holy Grail may have taken a long time to describe, but in the real world, it probably only took less than a microsecond. The old men in the meeting room did not know whether to laugh or cry at Chen Guang's unreasonable request to Cao Zhengming, but they were also angry and unhappy because of his long speech earlier. But suddenly, Cao Zhengming, who had been blushing under Chen Guang's interrogation and looked as if he had been greatly wronged, changed his expression. He actually lowered his head slightly, not daring to look into Chen Guang's eyes. What's wrong with Cao Zhengming? The atmosphere in the room suddenly became extremely strange. Old man Cao was about to speak when he announced the end of the meeting, and everyone left. I'm sorry. Cao Zhengming suddenly roared out loud. Many old men suddenly looked confused. What's wrong with little Cao? That's right. I deliberately told that little girl Jiang Yage that the lord of the one family appeared at the border of Yinxia province and Ninghai province, just to let her leak this news to Chen Guang. Old man Jin saw that Cao Zhengming had even hit his father, so he quickly pulled old man Jiang back, and it took him a lot of effort to stop him. Old man Lin, who was in the middle, frowned. Others could lose control in such a situation, but he couldn't. He had to be more composed than everyone else. He coughed twice to get everyone's attention, and then he knocked on the table. All right, quiet down. Sit down and help old man Cao up. Let him sit properly. Old man Cao was helped to a chair by two people beside him, but he wanted to get up to look for Cao Zhengming. The old man in the middle waved his hand again. Old man Cao, sit properly. But old man Cao wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and wanted to explain. No buts. Do you want to be beaten to death by your son here? The old man in the middle glared at him. Old man Cao knew that it was useless to say anything now, so he sat down dejectedly. Little Cao, do you understand what you just said? Old man Cao finally settled down, and the old man in the middle looked at Cao Zhengming and asked. Cao Zhengming nodded. Of course. I'm very clear-headed. I know what I'm saying, and I'm telling the truth. If I'm lying, Chao Zheng, will be struck by lightning tomorrow and die a horrible death. Do you have to swear on something like this? Although almost no one in the room believed in the so-called oath, the whole thing itself was strange enough. If you don't believe me, you can check the material list of the Military Research Institute for this year's March. Compared with the previous data, you can see that the core material used in March was exactly 1 bullet more than usual. The person who helped me hide the armor-piercing bullet was senior researcher Qi Jiamin. Everyone was dumbfounded again. You really told us everything. Why did you do this? What were you after? If what Chao Jingming said was true, then basically all the evidence and witnesses were present. The old man in the middle suppressed his anger and asked in a low voice. Many of the old men in the room stared at Chao Jingming's face. Everyone wanted to know what was going on. Chen Guang, on the other hand, leaned back in his chair and crossed his arms, looking very calm. Chapter 9:35. Facing everyone's shocked expressions and gazes, Chao Jingming did not feel that there was anything wrong with what he said. At that moment, he was as proud as a primary school student giving a speech on Children's Day. He looked at the old man in the middle with a faint smile. There's no special reason. Ouyang Tianxing visited me personally before. He can come and go as he pleases in the heavily guarded compound. I'm afraid of death. The human skin masks found in the Shadow Alliance's base were made with my help. I was Ouyang Tianxing's highest level informant from the beginning. My father is also well aware of this matter. There's still the slow-acting poison antidote that Ouyang Tianxing gave me in my home, but there's not much left. I don't have much time to live anyway. I decided to kill Chen Guang for 2 reasons. First, to vent my anger. Second, because he was unwilling to forgive me. There's no special reason. I've done similar things many times in the past. All right, I'm done. Chao Jingming looked at everyone with a smile. His expression seemed to be saying, hurry up and praise me. Hurry up and praise me. Old man Chao was so weak that he almost slid off his chair. It's over. It's all over now. As for the other old men, the expressions on their faces changed from confusion to skepticism, and finally, uncontrollable rage. Chen Guang was dumbfounded by the entire process. Holy sh*T, the power of forced PY transactions is a little too strong. Chao Jingming did not know what he was saying at all. No, he knew. He understood it completely. He was very clear-headed now. However, his outlook on life and the world had been completely distorted. In his heart, what he said was not a bad thing, but glory in achievements. The desire to talk that was forced into him through PY transactions forced him to talk about these glorious deeds. At that moment, he was like someone who was born with no sense of pain. His fingers were about to be chopped into pieces, but he was still smiling. Chen Guang thought to himself, thank goodness I never have to be my enemy. How pitiful. All the old men, whether they were on old man Chao's side or not, were now completely enraged. No wonder there had been leaks when they tried to deal with the Special Affairs Bureau in the past. Ouyang Tianxing's spies had already been planted around them. Even Elder Chao, who had fought alongside him for many years, had indirectly become Ouyang Tianxing's subordinate. In addition, when the matter of the human skin mask was first brought to everyone's desk, the bloody reality of tens of thousands of lives also made many elders furious. He had never imagined that Chao Jingming would be involved in this matter. Bastard. Shame. This was simply a disgrace. Old Chao, you taught your son well. Unforgivable. Too many to count. In the middle of the room, old Lin was already an old man. He was so angry that his hands were shaking and his lips were blue. He couldn't speak for a long time. After a long time, he finally said, send this father and son pair to the military court. As soon as his voice fell, old man Chao, who had been beaten black and blue by Chao Jingming, felt as if 5 bolts of lightning had struck his heart. He knew that not only would he not be able to protect his son, but he would also be unable to protect his chastity in his old age. His eyes rolled back and he fainted. Old Chao fainted. Although old man Chao was despicable, he had many old friends in the room. The people around him immediately exclaimed. Seeing this, Chao Zhengming grinned. Ha ha, great, great. Your father fainted because of you, and you still have a cheek to laugh? Are you crazy? Old man Chao's best friend, another old man, pointed at Chao Zhengming, who wanted to destroy the entire Chao family, and scolded him angrily. Unexpectedly, Chao Zhengming was completely oblivious to his scolding. After laughing, he tilted his head and looked at them, still grinning foolishly. Was he really crazy? Everyone in the meeting room was stunned at first, then they were all speechless. All of this was too strange, and it was truly inconceivable. Guang knew this very well. Right? This was the indelible mental damage mentioned by the Heavenly Holy Grail. It turned out that Chao Zhengming had gone crazy. In the forced PY trading mode, full HP was 100 points. His last critical hit had overflowed to 157 points, which seemed to be too much. Forget it. Chao Zhengming didn't deserve any sympathy. He brought this upon himself. He deserved it. Guang couldn't be bothered to watch the farce in the meeting room anymore. He stood up and greeted the two old men. Then, it seems that there's nothing else for me to do. I'll take my leave first. Little Chun this? Why did he do this? Old man Jean looked at Chao Zhengming first, then turned to look at Guang suspiciously. His intuition told him that Guang was behind this. Guang shrugged. God knows. Maybe he did too many bad things, and his conscience suddenly awakened. He was too ashamed, so he went crazy. Impossible. Old man Jiang interrupted. However, Guang pretended to be crazy. Grandpa Jiang, what do you think the reason is? I glared at him, and he went crazy? Then I'm not an internal force martial artist anymore. I'm a god, okay? The two old men looked at each other in dismay. Guang didn't waste time with them. He looked at the other old men who were in a mess, and Lin Jingwei's grandfather who was so angry that his lips were black and his face was pale. He didn't want to care at first, but he remembered Lin Jingwei's friendship, so he walked up and lightly patted the old man's shoulder. He transferred some of his inner strength into the old man's body, allowing him to breathe more easily. Old man Lin took 2 deep breaths, and his expression softened. He looked up at Guang beside him. Thank you. Guang waved his hand indifferently. No need. I'm doing this for Lin Jingwei's sake. By the way, there's one more thing. I'm quitting. I don't want to be the director anymore. No. We don't mean that. We still need you for this job. Old man Lin got up and said very quickly. He wasn't pretending this time. He really felt that after thinking about it, Guang, who didn't pursue power, was more suitable for the position of the director of the Guangdong General Administration. Even if he was a little unruly, it made him appear more scheming and reassuring. It was a pity that once the cracks appeared, it would be difficult to heal them, especially since Guang was known for being narrow-minded. You made me unhappy, and you want me to work for you? I've been the director for so long, and I haven't taken much advantage of you. I haven't even received a lot of salary. Now, I'm even under your suspicion. I'm tired and unlikable. The old man's wish has been fulfilled today, and he has to quit. Guang waved his hand. Grandpa Lin, I won't say much. I made up my mind. From now on, even if the sky of the Guangdong General Administration falls, it has nothing to do with me. You can let whoever you want to take over this mess. Don't expect that you won't be able to control it later. Ask me to step in. I'm not that despicable. Also, you don't have to worry about me using my power to do things like Ouyang Tianqing. Today, you felt that the Guangdong General Administration might need me, so you asked me to stay. Later, when those inner force martial artists completely obey the law and become part of the system, you'll still think that I'm trouble. I can't play this game of yours. I won't accompany you anymore. Bye. With that, Guang turned around and left. He opened the door of the conference room and grinned at the guards outside, who were shocked by the surveillance footage. Then he strode out of the courtyard with his head held high and went straight into the distance. Relieved of the burden in his heart, he walked with a carefree and unrestrained manner. Even the little ham's steps were lighter, and his body was almost floating. As the saying went, leave with a brush of the robe, hide your achievements and fame, generally referred to his current state. Old Man Lin and Jin Jiang, the two old men beside him, stared at his back in the distance. Their ears were still ringing with the chaos of the conference room, and for a moment, they couldn't say a single word. These people who knew a little about Chen Guang clearly sensed an inexplicable carefreeness in his steps. He really wasn't lying. From the beginning, no one knew him. The power that everyone in the world coveted was not even comparable to a cup of dung in his eyes. Thinking again about what he had said today, the old men blushed with shame. How embarrassing. Old Man Lin squeezed out this sentence. Old Man Jiang sighed. I'm not as good as Lil Chun. Old Man Jin's face flushed red. Perhaps it's precisely because of his carefree attitude that he was able to become a grandmaster at such a young age. Old Man Jiang said again, but what if the other inner force martial artists in the general administration really don't want to submit? These people are more rebellious than we think. Old Man Lin, on the other hand, had thought things through. Forget it. From now on, the headquarters will not have a director. We'll let the two young girls continue to be in charge. Those two girls have a close relationship with Chen Guang. Even if others don't give them face, they'll still have to give some face to the spokesperson of the Wulian Alliance. Old Man Jiang nodded slightly. That's true. On the other side, Chao Jingming was still giggling, and saliva dripped from the corner of his mouth. Whether he was really crazy or pretending to be crazy, he couldn't escape the trial. Based on the evidence and testimonies that he had mentioned just now, everything he had done would be exposed as soon as they followed the clues and followed them all the way to the melon. As a senior leader, Old Man Chao couldn't escape the crime of covering up and harboring a criminal. Walking out of the courtyard, Chen Guang stretched and took a deep breath of the fresh air outside, feeling refreshed. He had finally seen through everything. Even if Chao Jingming confessed to all the crimes in the end and proved his innocence, and the father and son of the Chao family were destined to be executed. But after such a torment, those old men should also understand that he was not a chess piece that they could control. If he continued to sit in that position, the end result would probably be to continue to be suspicious. In the future, he would have to find ways to deal with them and fight with them. Although he could be invincible, and it wouldn't be difficult for him to replace them one day in the future. But wasn't it boring? Humans only have one life, and plants only have one spring. Why not do something that you really like and are interested in, so that you can live a more leisurely and comfortable life? Why do you have to sharpen your head and plunge into that dirty, rotten swamp? Even if you can get out of the swamp, sit on the throne in the swamp, and grasp the power, so what? Can you live one more year? Can you fight against time and death if you become the leader? Thinking of their lives, Chen Guang felt tired for them. It looked glamorous, but how was it comfortable? It wasn't easy for him to get this stinky body, and now he had sought refuge with the Emperor of the Azure from the endless divine realm. He should have spent more time on the heavenly Holy Grail. He looked up at the blue sky and white clouds above his head. If it weren't for the fact that he didn't want to be too shocking, he would have looked up to the sky and roared. If this place doesn't keep me, I'll roam the world. From now on, I'll just focus on cultivating my path to godhood and saving my sister Liuli. Why would I care about your schemes? Chapter 9:36. After some commotion in the conference room, the father and son of the Chao family were finally taken away. He didn't know if Chao Jingming was really crazy or just pretending to be crazy, but he was still arrested at the first moment. Naturally, he was investigated from the beginning to the end. Old Chao fainted and was immediately sent to the neighboring medical institution. But according to the doctor's report, the situation was not optimistic. Old Chao was so angry that his blood rushed to his head. He was not young to begin with and had high blood pressure. After the rush, he showed signs of a cerebral hemorrhage when he fainted. Who knew if there would be a more serious after effects from this seemingly simple fainting? Although they had finally caught the mole, the other old men in the conference room did not feel very happy. Especially after Chen Guang resigned before leaving, they were all dumbfounded. They felt that they were particularly ridiculous. They had tried to get rid of Chen Guang previously, but they did not expect him to abandon his position as the bureau chief. Everyone then realized that Chen Guang had made up his mind from the beginning to deal with the father and son of the Chow family and leave freely. He would then live a carefree life in the future. But the more carefree he appeared, the more the old men in the conference room felt their hearts clench. How embarrassing. Chen Guang expressed that he did not care how those old men felt. After coming out, he had wanted to call the Guangdong General Administration staff in Beijing to pick him up. But then he thought about it and changed his mind. Although there was no such thing as a seal today, since he was going to resign, he had to be more decisive. Therefore, he simply refused Secretary Chu's offer to arrange a car for him. He stood at the gate of the Nanhai Villa district, and under the dumbfounded gazes of the guards and Secretary Chu, he took out his phone and made an online taxi booking. Then, under the fearful gaze of the online hailing taxi driver, he sat down. "Sir, Shishan Villa District." The poor driver was scared out of his wits. "My brother, can you not take a taxi here next time? My hands were a little too dirty just now, and I almost peed my pants on the way here." Chen Guang laughed. "What's there to be nervous about? Aren't the people in here also human?" "You can't say that. They're all humans, but the people living here aren't ordinary people. Let me tell you, on my way here, there were at least 17 or 18 barbets aimed at my head. Do you believe me? It's just that I've rejected too many orders recently. If I unilaterally cancel your order, the transaction rate will fall below 50%. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come here even if I was beaten to death. I'm telling you, there isn't a single good person here." Chen Guang rolled his eyes. He had long heard that the taxi drivers in Yanjing were reasonable, but he didn't expect that the drivers of online car-hailing cars were not that bad. After talking for a long time, the driver thought that Chen Guang would be able to chat with him, but after waiting for a long time, he didn't hear anything from the back. The atmosphere seemed a little cold. The driver kept muttering to himself. Wait, something was wrong. This young man had just come out from there. When he left, many people even saluted him. The middle-aged man who looked like a leader was bowing and scraping to him. Damn, he's a big shot. I just told him that there isn't a single good person here. Damn, I'm causing trouble for my mouth. Brother, I don't mean anything else. Actually, if it weren't for you, our country wouldn't be so developed now. The driver hurriedly tried to salvage the situation. Chen Guang saw that he was scared. It's okay. You don't have to explain to me. You're right. There isn't a single good person here. After that, he ignored the driver and started to play with his phone. He opened his Weibo account. Recently, he didn't have any news outside, and the company's operations team didn't update anything new. The latest content was related to the World's Language Club. The comments section below his Weibo account was filled with fans' comments. Most of them were asking him where he had been recently and why there was no news from him. For example, "Brother All-Rounder, we miss you so much. You can always update your Weibo and say something. Brother All-Rounder is filming recently, right? Isn't the filming for Heroine already started? The one above, stop talking. I heard from my friends who work at Film City that they didn't even see Brother All-Rounder at all. That can't be right. He's the male lead. The filming has already started, and he doesn't even go to the set. The director is Deng Xiaojiang, who's famous for being harsh. The diehard fans above, you should wake up. Your Brother All-Rounder has become too arrogant. He has no artistic ethics. Get lost, damn haters. What right do you have to say that? What right do I have to say that? Have you forgotten? He's not only the male lead, he's also an investor. He invested 120 million. Not to mention the director is Deng Xiaojiang. No one can do anything to him. Who could do anything to the boss? From what I see, he's probably using a stunt double the entire time. At most, he'll shoot a few close-up shots of his face. Isn't that the trend among the little fresh meats recently? Just wait and see. This is still filming in Film City. When it's time to shoot the outdoor scenes, I promise to show you the entire process. That can't be, right? That's his own money. How can he waste it like that? So what if it's his own money? In any case, he has you diehard fans supporting him, right? When the time comes, no matter how bad the filming is, he's still a celebrity. You diehard fans will still pay for him, okay? That's right. Chen Guang doesn't have any acting skills to begin with. He's not a professional actor either. He's just relying on his money, power, and fame. He doesn't take his filming seriously and has no professionalism. No one could do anything about it. I just pity Big Beard Dang and the other main leads. From what I see, it's not that he doesn't want to do the filming, but he doesn't have the skills to do it. He has no choice but to use a stunt double. Who knows? Maybe even a stunt double can act better than him. That's enough. It's normal to use stunt doubles for TV series, but this is a blockbuster movie. It's going to be on the big screen. You can even use stunt doubles like that. Aren't you afraid of being exposed and getting scolded to death? Anyway, there are diehard fans paying for it. He just wants to make money. What's important is to make money. Who cares if the movie is good or not? Why don't you use your brains and think about it? He's been doing so many things in the past. Other than acting in a few commercials, what else has he done that has anything to do with acting? I don't believe that he has the time to learn acting either. Acting in a blockbuster movie isn't something that you're born with. In any case, I won't go to the cinema. I don't want to suffer from embarrassment. That's right. He's taken a majority of the movie's profits. Now that he's famous, he's thinking of cashing in on his fame. What's the difference between him and those idols who only know how to take a huge sum of money, but start counting at the moment they step out of the neighborhood? No, he has no bottom line, all right? Bad money drives out good money. Nowadays, anyone can act just because they have a bit of fame. What's more, they're the male lead of a blockbuster movie the moment they arrive. This is simply the tragedy of this era. Although I think that a lot of the haters are right and make sense, this atmosphere is a little familiar. In the past, no matter what he did, there were still a lot of people who analyzed it logically. This time, Brother All-Rounder is going to kneel, Brother All-Rounder is going to be done for, Brother All-Rounder is going to be too pretentious. But in the end, the people who criticized him were slapped in the face so badly every time. I'm a veteran hater turned fan. Because of this, I've suffered a lot. This time, I won't be fooled no matter what you say. You don't know, but I made a bet with my classmate. I said that if he doesn't kneel, he'll eat 3 pounds of SH*T. That group of beasts really mixed SH*T into my curry beef rice. I don't care. I believe him. The old driver, Brother All-Rounder, never fails. Retarded, brain-dead fan. In your eyes, even the skin of his feet is fragrant. Retarded haters don't just F***king hate. If you have the guts, come and bet. If he doesn't fail, do you dare to broadcast yourself eating 3 pounds of SH*T? Let's bet. Previous poster, save it. In the past, there were so many people who said the same thing as you that I can't even count. If you really do it, our Wujing City's septic tank will be empty. Chun Guang casually swept through the comment section and saw that these people were in a heated discussion. Honestly speaking, he had been too busy recently. The things he was involved in were too high-end, so he didn't give Brother Yangshi a chance to pester him. As a result, he had almost completely forgotten about the filming. As for why Uncle Big Beard didn't call him to hurry up the male lead, it was likely that Jiang Yage and Jin Shuriwei had leaked some information to him. Uncle Big Beard might not be aware of his identity as the director of the Guangdong General Headquarters, but he should be aware of the fact that his status was extraordinary. However, the netizens were really going a little too far. In the past year, there have been incidents like Miss Numbers, Mr. Numbers, Masked Knight, and the cutout duo that had sullied the reputations of male idols and popular female celebrities. He had accidentally been classified as one of those people and had become a scapegoat for those people. Are you kidding me? I'm the best actor in history. Is every frown and smile of the old man a good actor? He's going to make you guys doubt your own life. That's right, I'm not born with acting skills, but do you know how much I've suffered and how much cruel training I've gone through to get my acting skills? I'm the most dedicated actor. How many times have I exploded on the spot just to learn acting skills? No one has ever worked so hard to learn acting skills like me. No, I'm really going to die, all right? Looking at the few die-hard haters who were slandering him in the comments section, Chen Guang really wanted to beat them to death. To be honest, if it wasn't for the fact that he knew that no matter how careless he looked right now, he would be able to instantly get into character and give a perfect performance in front of the camera, Chen Guang would have been convinced by those haters in the comment section. No, I have to do something. If I allow this matter to continue brewing and the public boycotts my movie, the box office might collapse. It'll be a small matter if I lose money, but my reputation will be ruined. It'll be difficult for me to make a comeback and have people acknowledge my acting skills. Acting skills were much more subjective and difficult to quantify than playing the piano. There were 1,000 Hamlets in 1,000 people's eyes. If you can't show an irrefutable and dominant performance, no matter how good your acting is, you won't be able to convince everyone. In other words, even if Chung Guang really played a role perfectly, if he had been slandered before, he would have to work hard step by step if he wanted to prove himself. Just like Lil Lee in the past. When he first debuted, he was labeled as a little fresh meat and an idol because he was too handsome. Later, no matter how good his acting was, he could only be a bystander in the Oscars. In order to get an Oscar, he tortured himself to the point where he could only get what he wanted once he was middle-aged. There were still so many worlds in a cup waiting to be explored and so many statues waiting to be erected. Chung Guang didn't have the leisure and time to torture himself with one movie every year until he was in his 30s or 40s. Although he didn't have to rely on women to establish a statue of acting skills overnight, at least he couldn't destroy his own reputation because of this. Therefore, no matter what, he couldn't continue to let the netizens continue to criticize him like this. After getting out of the car, he walked to the security gate of the Shishan villas while thinking about how to turn the tide of public opinion. Chapter 9:37. The cycle of shooting a movie can be as long as a month or two, or as long as a few years. Big Beard Ding can't shoot a movie fast, and he strives for perfection. After the scenes are finished, he still has to work on the post-production. It is estimated that it will take at least half a year for the movie to be released. At that time, the public opinion of criticizing his acting skills on the internet will become a wind vane, and it will be politically correct to unite to boycott women. It is hard to guarantee that the worst situation will not happen. That is, others may not go to the cinema to watch the film, but regardless of the consequences, they will first criticize him on the internet and in the circle of life, and they will also collect the negative information on the internet and criticize him logically. At that time, no matter how the people who have watched the film in the cinema or the people who have watched the film on the internet help him, they may not be able to change the preconceived ideas of others. Chen Guang is still thinking about it when he walks to the Zhang's villa and sees Jin Shuriwei and Jiang Yage. As for the unpleasantness that happened in the Nanhai Sea before, after he just resigned from the general administration of Guangdong, he should feel the melancholy of someone walking in front of the cold tea door. Sorry, he doesn't feel this kind of emotion at all. If today is not the Spring Festival, he even wants to buy a roll of 10,000 firecrackers to celebrate this big news. You look a little absent-minded. I heard from Grandpa that you have resigned, and I thought you were really as free and easy as you pretend to be in front of them. It turns out that you still care about them. Jiang Yage's mental state is not very good at the moment, but she can't show it in front of Jin Shuriwei. She grits her teeth and asks Chen Guang to sit down, and she goes to pour water. Chen Guang looks at her awkward appearance when she walks and feels very embarrassed. He wants to help her, but she doesn't want to. On the way here, Jiang Yage has told him that he must not let Jin Shuriwei know what happened between them last night, or she will hang herself. Yage, just sit down. If you sprain your waist, you should behave yourself, or it will take a few days to get better. Jin Shuriwei gets up and presses Jiang Yage back to the sofa and gets up to pour water. I'll do it myself. All of you sit tight. Chen Guang took out the cup that he carried with him everywhere he went. Today, he was soaking in bamboo green tea. As he added water, he said, I didn't even think about the Guangdong headquarters. I'm having a headache about something else. You really don't want to work? What could be more important than this? Jiang Yage asked curiously. Chen Guang snorted. Of course. Being an official is so boring. So boring. Then what is it that can give you a headache? Jin Shuriwei looked at him with interest. Chen Guang blushed. I browsed Weibo for a while on the way here. Recently, I've been scolded quite badly online. Are you talking about the movie? My God, you still remember it. We all thought you had forgotten all about it. You don't know, but Big Beard is almost crying. He keeps asking us when we could tie you up and show your face on the set. Jiang Yage said grumpily. Jean Shuriwei also said, Director Deng has been under a lot of pressure recently. On one hand, you, the male lead, are not present from the beginning to the end, and he has to rehearse properly. On the other hand, he has to deal with the limelight on the internet. He is also afraid of ruining his own reputation. Recently, he has been saying that if he knew it would be like this, he would not have accepted the role in the first place. He is so worried that his beard has turned white. Chen Guang imagined Uncle Big Beard's beard turning white in his mind, and he felt sorry for him for 3 seconds. Forget it. I'll feel sorry for myself first. I also feel that it's not a good idea to always be slandered like this. Money is a small matter, but reputation is important. But I can't think of any ideas on how to turn the limelight around. After all, filming is not something that can be done overnight. It will take a few months to see the results. By that time, I'm afraid I will have been slandered like Lord Bao. Jean Shirua pondered and said, Why don't we go to the set today instead of choosing a day? Anyway, Uncle Chow has already been convicted, so there shouldn't be any danger. Chen Guang thought about it and felt that it was reasonable. Okay, we'll go later. If you want to go, you two go. I don't want to move now. Ouch, my waist. Jiang Yage pretended to rub her waist. Chen Guang exchanged a look with her, which was basically asking her with his eyes, Are you okay? Jiang Yage silently made an okay expression, which was her reply to Chen Guang. I'm fine, don't worry about me. Then she flew her eyes to the porcelain cup on the table in the distance. Chen Guang smelled a medicinal fragrance. This should be the nourishing chicken soup made by the servants at home. It was called Nourishing Yin and Kidney. Jean Shuriwei had no idea that Chen Guang and Jiang Yage had communicated 10,000 thoughts behind her back. At this time, she was helping Chen Guang think about the online comments. Recently, she had been staying at the set all day, so she was the clearest about the direction of this matter. In the past, Chen Guang did not mention it, nor did he care, so she did not say much. Since he brought it up when they met today, she had to help think of a solution. Jean Shuriwei analyzed with a frown, but this is ultimately a solution that doesn't solve the root of the problem. Director Deng's recent schedule has already been written to next week, and the other actors have already been arranged. Your scenes will be next month at the earliest, so it's not convenient to rush your scenes at the last minute. Even if you go to the set, it doesn't seem to be of much use. At most, it can make Director Deng feel a little more at ease. Chen Guang nodded and asked, Then other than acting in a movie, what else can I do to prove my acting skills? Jiang Yage said, Acting skills? Drama. Most of the truly good actors can act in plays. Sister Shuriwei and I have also acted in plays for a period of time in the past. That kind of live performance on stage is completely different from acting in front of the camera. It's especially challenging. Wait, what did you say just now? You want to prove your acting skills? Jean Shuriwei said, Don't joke around. Acting in a drama is completely different from acting in a movie. Chen Guang can't do it. Jiang Yage nodded. That's right. Unexpectedly, Chen Guang's eyes were getting brighter and brighter. What the hell is going on in your head? Please don't say. Jiang Yage started to panic. Chen Guang stood up and said, That's right. I want to act in a drama. He had almost forgotten about it. What was he best at? He was the best content provider. Now, whether it was himself or Tianguang manager, they both had ample experience in organizing live events. Since drama was the best test of acting skills, and there was no trouble in post-production, then he could organize a live drama just like how he organized the International Throne Challenge or the piano joint performance. This kind of short, fast, and effective project was what he liked the most and was best at. Jean Shuriwei and Jiang Yage's jaws dropped as they looked at him, dumbfounded. Obviously, this guy wasn't talking nonsense. He was serious. This isn't a good idea? Jean Shuriwei pinched the hem of her casual shirt as she imagined Chen Guang performing a drama on stage. Goosebumps appeared all over her body. Jiang Yage also said anxiously, I was just saying, don't take it seriously. Chen Guang didn't care about their shocked expressions. He clenched his fists excitedly and started pacing around the room. I'll start planning now. With my company's efficiency, it should be done by next week. The venue should be in Wujing. After all, I haven't been to school for a long time. Planning and publicity aren't important. After all, no matter how big the theater is, there are only a few tickets. We can't make the theater too big. What's important is the publicity and live broadcast on TV. Let little Tsung handle the live broadcast. Let's not care about the live broadcast for now. We'll sell it to whoever offers the highest price. And the question is, what should I perform? I have to think about it. I can't be the only actor in a play. It's best to choose a play that's representative. It's best if there are many people who can perform it. It'll be easier to find supporting roles. Jiang Yage and Jean Shuriwei stared blankly at Chen Guang as he walked around the living room and muttered to himself. This guy was completely in character. Suddenly, Chen Guang turned around and looked at the two of them with glowing eyes. He asked, "What's the most popular play?" Jiang Yage answered, "Thunderstorm." Chen Guang clapped his hands. "Good. Let's perform Thunderstorm." "That's crazy." Jean Shuriwei's face turned pale. "Don't mess around. What do you think a play is? A children's art show? Do you know what the status of Thunderstorm is in the world of plays? There are thousands of actors in the country, and at least 30% of them have performed before. Do you think it's easy to perform when there are more actors? The more actors who have performed Thunderstorm, the more people will compare you to them. Even a small flaw will be magnified infinitely. Moreover, you've done some commercials before. Yes, you did a good job when you guest starred in Country and Throne, but you had to pressure director Dang for an entire afternoon to get that 30-second scene. Wake up. Jiang Yage also nodded. That's right. My dear Wang, even though you're a little famous now, you can't insult it like this, right? Chen Guang stood proudly and smiled. You're looking down on me, aren't you? But I don't blame you. I'm used to it. I can only tell you that a play is a piece of cake for me. Then, under their dumbfounded gazes, he called LV Xiaoyang, the butt-face. Xiao Lu, I've got a new idea recently. Oh, President Chen, please speak. Previously, Chen Guang had casually promised him 100,000 yuan in cash. Comrade Xiao Lu had probably used this money to buy a house. The moment he opened his mouth, he was being considerate and respectful to his boss. I want to perform in a play. Get Old Yu and Old Fong to help me prepare. I'll perform in the 5 capitals as soon as possible. It's best if it's within the next week. Lu Xiaoyang, this master is messing around again. Adona, do you know about Thunderstorm? It's that famous play. Quickly help me find actors. Money is not a problem. Anyway, we can only use high prices to hire actors. They must be experienced actors and not young actors. It doesn't matter if they're famous or not, but they must have high standards. Only then can they serve as a foil to me. Chen Guang did not wait for Comrade Xiao Lu to reply. He hung up and snapped his fingers. Done. Jean Shuriwei and Jiang Yage were completely speechless. It was like they'd seen a ghost. Chen Guang could no longer be called arrogance. He was simply exploding on the spot. Chapter 9:38. Chen Guang settled the matter with just a few words over the phone. He couldn't care less about what would happen to the people in the company because of what he said. As the saying went, one must be loyal to the ruler. This was the current situation. Because he had to collect faith points, he was destined to do things as he pleased. It would be especially tiring for others to work for him. When he was free, he might have to dawdle for days. When he was busy, it would be like this. With a single order, the entire company would have to move. Before the entire project was completed, they would not be able to rest. Because of this, Chen Guang never treated the company's middle management poorly. People like Yu Hong, Fang Tianyu, Su Li, and Lu Xiaoyang all had annual salaries of more than 200,000 yuan. Yu Hong, who had returned from overseas to host work, had an annual salary of 500,000 yuan. Adding on the bonuses that Chen Guang would occasionally give out, he estimated that his annual salary would not be less than 1,000,000 yuan. It was not the end of the fiscal year yet. When it was New Year, Chen Guang planned to give out a huge year-end bonus. He was not careless about giving out bonuses for competitions, and he was even more careless about giving out salaries to his own people. Anyway, he was so poor that he only had money left. When the time came, Yu Hong's income would only be higher than when he was overseas. In addition, Yu Hong was a high-ranking employee of the Tang Jie Foundation. Although his personnel had been transferred, he should still have an annual salary similar to that of a consultant in the Tang Jie Foundation. Although the boss, Chen Guang, was always unreliable, every time he did something unreliable, he would make a lot of money for the company. Chen Guang also never criticized their work. Although they were quite tired of serving him, the work for the past few months had been quite comfortable. Anyone who used a good boss in China would know. The biggest advantage of following a boss who could become famous all over the country, no, all over the world, was that he didn't have to worry. Anyway, he wasn't afraid of losing money, and he wouldn't lose money. The biggest disadvantage was that it was troublesome. Anyway, no matter what he did, he could make a big deal out of a small matter. He could also make a big scene out of small matter. Every time he did it, he would scare people. It was the same this time. In Beijing, Chen Guang had his eyes on Jin Shuriyue and Jiang Yage. Are the two of you interested in acting with me? The two of them shook their heads like a rattle drum. They couldn't afford to lose face. Jin Shuriyue was even a little angry. She felt that Chen Guang was simply trampling on her professional field. Chen Guang was the only one who did this. If it was someone else, Jin Shuriyue would have already looked down on him with her character and blacklisted him in her heart. This person wasn't reliable, and it's best if they don't interact with him in the future. At this moment, Jin Shuriyue was worried for Chen Guang. She first shook her head, then worried for him. On one hand, she didn't want to see his money go down the drain. On the other hand, she was worried that he would embarrass himself on stage. From the first time they met, when Chen Guang took the life-saving reward, Jin Shuriyue realized that he was a person who would rather suffer than lose face. Jin Shuriyue didn't want to see him be unhappy because he lost face on stage. Sai, I was thinking that if the two of you joined in, the drama would be more popular, Chen Guang said with a regretful tone. Jin Shuriyue was slightly moved. She thought that if she could watch over him the whole time, no matter how bad his acting skills were, she might be able to help him. However, on the other side, Jiang Yage desperately winked at her, telling her not to be silly. Jiang Yage pinched her fingers and began to calculate the time for Chen Guang. You think it's easy? I only have 2 days off. I have to go to the set later. Most of Sister Shuriyue's scenes have to be shot during this period. She has to go to the promotion of our new album. How would she have time to prepare for your drama? Even if it's the thunderstorm we acted in when we were learning to act, it's not something that can be done easily. Okay? You don't need to revise the script or memorize the lines. Chen Guang nodded. That's right. After all, you're not like me. I can't just go on stage and act. When he said this, he was really serious. It didn't seem like he was joking at all. Jiang Yage and Jin Shuriyue were completely speechless. My brother, where did you get this confidence from? The two of them felt very tired. They really sympathized with his employees in his company. Did this guy always do things like this in the past? How tired was that? Wait, it seemed like the two of them weren't any better. In the past, they thought that maybe he was just too busy and couldn't pay attention to acting. Now it seemed that this guy simply thought that he was a genius. He didn't need to learn to act and could do it easily. Although, from the beginning, when Jiang Yage appointed Chen Guang to act in the movie, she didn't have high hopes for him. At that time, she even thought that it would be better if he didn't act well. For example, kissing scenes and so on. How happy would that be? It didn't matter if the movie's box office and reputation were bad. Anyway, he had acted in many types of TV and movies. He just hadn't acted in a bad movie that purely relied on reputation. With his and Sister Shuriyue's box office appeal, they shouldn't lose too much. It wasn't like they couldn't afford to lose this bit of money. At that time, Chen Guang was just a rising internet celebrity. Jiang Yage felt that even if his acting skills weren't good, he could slowly grind out a good show, just like when he was filming Country. But now it seemed that his attitude was very problematic. She still hoped to slowly grind him. With the confidence he showed today, even if she said a few more words to him, he would probably explode. They weren't afraid that he didn't have acting skills. They were most afraid that he was clearly not a professional actor, but still thought that he was a movie king. The two of them wanted to persuade him again, but seeing that he had eaten a weight and was determined, they thought that it would be useless to say anything in a short period of time. Fine, they had to accept their fate. They would help him pray to the god of acting in their hearts. After the three of them chatted for more than half an hour, Chen Guang and Jin Shuriyue went out together. As a #1 investor of the movie and the male lead, he was finally willing to visit the set. Big Beard was so excited that he almost cried. "I say, you're finally willing to come. I thought you became a missing person. Otherwise, I would have thought that you forgot about the movie." "Uncle, look at what you're saying. I'm such a dedicated person. How could I forget? I was too busy previously, otherwise I would have come long ago." Big Beard Deng nodded repeatedly. I understand. Through some channels, whether overt or covert, Big Beard was not completely clear about Chen Guang's recent identity, but he had a feeling that he suddenly disappeared a few days ago. He looked for Jin Shuriyue and Jiang Yage to ask about his whereabouts, and even got a top-secret reply. Originally, he was worried that this young man, who he admired in the past, would change a little and become a little difficult to deal with now that his identity was not quite the same. Big Beard felt that his worry was not without reason. Fortunately, he met him today, and after a few words, he found that this young man was still so enthusiastic. Big Beard heard him call him uncle, and heard him call him uncle, which made his heart feel comfortable. Everyone had a little bit of vanity, and Big Beard Deng was no exception. In the past, when Chen Guang was just a poor boy, Big Beard felt very close to him when he was called uncle. Now that Chen Guang had become a big shot, and he still called him uncle, Big Beard felt honored and proud. He could also feel the respect that Chen Guang had for him. Just by calling him uncle, most of the long-accumulated grievances in Big Beard Deng's heart suddenly disappeared, and his breath became smooth. There were no scenes for Chen Guang today, and the flight back to Wujing that he booked was at night, so he followed the crew with great interest for the whole afternoon. Big Beard Deng was also happy to bring him along. While acting, he seized the opportunity to teach him. Yang Shi, who was listening, felt embarrassed for Big Beard. He really wanted to tell director Deng, "Please don't sell your melons." Whether it is in theory or in practice, the internet celebrity in front of you, the big investment boss, the versatile brother, Uncle Chun is the real ancestor-level best actor. Almost talk to you until my mouth is broken. Why don't you believe me even if I beat you to death? Also, Chen Guang was also a bad person. Even if he didn't shoot his scene today, he could have just casually given director Deng a paragraph like last time. With director Deng's vision, after seeing his ability to get into character in an instant and even bring others into his scene, it was absolutely impossible for him to have any doubts about his ability. If, in director Deng's eyes, Chen Guang's commercial was not enough to prove his acting skills, then he would show you on the spot and bring you into his field. You should believe it, right? Yang, she felt that he had to admit that there was such a crazy genius in this world, and that was Chen Guang. If there was anything he wouldn't do, it could only be because he was not interested in this matter. Unfortunately, until Chen Guang left, Yang, she didn't wait for him to show his skills in front of Big Beard. Even if he had found a chance to whisper a few words to Chen Guang in private, it was useless. Chen Guang told him another piece of news, and Yang, she understood his thoughts. First, this guy was going to act in a play. Second, it was next week. He didn't reveal his skills now, so that when he acted in a play, the feeling of contrast between before and after would be stronger, so that his play would have a stronger impact in an instant. Yang, she couldn't help but be impressed. No wonder Chen Guang could succeed at such a young age. In addition to his real ability, he was really good at the details and scheming when it came to running a project. Wait, didn't Big Beard ask me to follow him all day? How could there be no director in a play? Opportunity. When Chen Guang left, Yang, she decisively ran to Big Beard and volunteered to go to Wujing. Big Beard didn't understand. Didn't you think it was meaningless in the past? Yang, she chuckled as he continued. Director Deng, I've already deeply understood my mistake. I guarantee that I'll definitely make Chen Guang into an Oscar winner before next month. I can make a military pledge. If I can't do it, I will cut my head off. Big Beard Deng gave him a kick. When did you learn to be so glib with Chen Guang? Get lost. What are you doing? I'm asking you to go to Wujing with him." Thus, Chen Guang, the first main creative member of the play Thunderstorm, and also the director, left Big Beer Dang's set and came to Wujing. Chapter 9:39. Chen Guang trusted Yang Shi's ability. Since he was interested, he would leave it to him. When the two of them got off the plane in Wujing, it was already past 9 p.m. Chen Guang directly threw Yang Shi to Tianguang Agency and took a taxi back to the neighborhood outside the school. The poor Tianguang Agency's 4 great King Kongs. In the afternoon, Chen Guang gave them a phone call and threw them an unimaginable idea. Just like that, they could become his shopkeepers. He was quite comfortable. It was just a matter of a few words and a phone call. However, Yu Hong, Fong Tianyu, Su Li, and Lu Xiaoyang had no choice but to accept the cruel reality that their short vacation was completely ruined. Whether it was holding a competition or other activities, the entire project's establishment, planning, implementation, copyright operations, ticketing management, venue rentals, and clothing during the live performances, etc. It was simply a basket of troubles, not to mention that the time this time was so short. This master had always been in charge of killing and not burying. The few of them had a meeting in the company while making phone calls everywhere to find people. It was a headache. Fortunately, he was going to act in a traditional drama, Thunderstorm. This saved them the trouble of writing a script and training new actors. After all, this drama was reserved for domestic performing arts students. However, the time he gave them was too short. He even asked for experienced actors to act for him. Wasn't this torture? It was not easy to gather all the main cast members in a short period of time. Lu Xiaoyang used the connections he had accumulated over the years as a paparazzi and managed to find a few actors. However, the biggest problem was that he still had not found a director. Although he knew that CEO Chen's acting skills were a little crazy and that when he was good, he could easily shoot 12 sets of commercials a day. However, suddenly going on stage to act in a drama was like suddenly going from the county school league to the English Premier League. It was a little unrealistic. Therefore, they had to find a good director. Although it was not a famous director, they couldn't just randomly find a directing student from the school to make up the numbers, right? At the very least, they had to find an experienced veteran, right? Otherwise, how could they keep him under control? Everyone understood the reason, but time was too tight. Many people immediately backed out when they heard that they had to go on stage next week at the latest, but they hadn't even settled on the actors yet. They didn't even discuss the price. Secondly, even if they managed to convince him, the moment they heard that Chen Guang wanted to play the male lead, they would immediately fall through and refuse to do it even if they were offered more money. Those who spoke harshly were already swearing, and those who had a little bit of self-restraint were all kinds of sudden scapulohumeral periarthritis, gingivitis, and tenosynovitis. Thirdly, there were some people who were willing to come, but they were all unorthodox directors who specialized in online popular supernatural films. They did not have the slightest bit of ability and only wanted to come here to pass the time and become familiar with CEO Chen. With President Chen's temperament, this kind of person would definitely be kicked away by him, and a few of them would also be labeled as incompetent. How could a good play not have a director? Since Thunderstorm was first put on the stage more than 80 years ago, it had been performed thousands of times on different stages, on TV or the big screen by different actors. There were countless different versions, some classic and some rubbish. Every play of Thunderstorm, produced by a different director, would more or less have the director's personal characteristics. Whether it was a play or a TV movie, the screenwriter was the skeleton of the work, the actors were the face and flesh of the work, and the director was the soul of the entire work. Even twins who looked exactly the same would show completely different personalities because of the different souls living in their bodies, let alone Thunderstorm, which was extremely rich in content. This was a very deep, critical, and meaningful play. Every director would teach the actors according to their own artistic creation, and by paying attention to the details bit by bit, they would work hard to let the emotions of the main cast and the audience burst forth in the theater. In this process of paying attention to the details, The director would put his own personal brand on the stage play. A good director's play would be a classic, while a rookie director's play would make the entire theater audience suffer from embarrassment. In the past, no matter how unreliable the things that President Chun had done seemed at the beginning, the final result had never disappointed anyone. Obviously, his goal this time was the same. He only wanted classics, not rubbish. Therefore, it was difficult to find a director, and it made people worry so much. It was past 10 o'clock at night, and Liu Xiaoyang was still flipping through his little notebook, hesitating. He had basically contacted all the slightly reliable play directors in the country, but basically all of them turned down. Now, he was conflicted about whether he should use the hot news from Zhuo Wei's 8-weekly H drive to force him to give in. This thing was a big killer. Once he took it out, he might be able to achieve his goal in a short time, but it would definitely make people feel uncomfortable and he would become enemies. After all, he was a person of virtue and prestige, and he might not even know that the hot news was stored in the H drive. Xiao Lu, why don't you call this person? Desperate times call desperate measures, and we have no other choice. Fang Tianyu took a deep puff of his cigarette and extinguished it in the ashtray. Yu Hong, who was wearing a gas mask, said in a muffled voice. But when he rejected us just now, he was very polite. Aren't we being too unkind? Su Li also shook his head with his mask on. He could not stand the smell of Fang Tianyu's cigarette, but everyone was very depressed, and they could not stop him from smoking. Liu Xiaoyang slammed the table heavily. Let's do it. President Chun once said that those who achieve great things should not bother about trifles. We will just raise the salary later. The other three people looked at him and gave him a thumbs up. Yu Hong said, Xiao Lu is very courageous. Su Li nodded. As expected of someone from 8 Weekly. Fang Tianyu said, I admire your shamelessness. Under the reverent gazes of the three, Liu Xiaoyang dialed the number. Hello, Director Pan. Are you asleep already? I'm Tingguang's agent, Fang Tianyu, who called you just now. F***CK. The next second, Fang Tianyu jumped up and sat on Liu Xiaoyang's waist. He snatched the phone from Liu Xiaoyang's hand and hung up. Yu Hong said, Despicable. Su Li said, Shameless. Fang Tianyu said, You are a true disciple of President Chun. All right, this matter was put on hold again. Director Pan had made a mistake in the past, and it had been a few years since then. Fang Tianyu could not bear to drag Director Pan down with him. Just then, there was a knock on the office door. A company clerk who was working overtime poked her head in from outside. There's a director named Yang Shi outside. He said that President Chun asked him to come. The eyes of the four of them lit up in a flash. The poor clerk thought that he had caught the attention of 4 higher-ups at the same time, and he was panicking. I can't handle 4 people at once. Liu Xiaoyang slammed the table and stood up. Hurry up and invite Director Yang in. Fang Tianyu let out a long sigh. As expected of President Chun, it seems like he had already selected a director in advance. This is called planning strategies in a tent, and victory will be decided from 1,000 miles away. Su Li rolled his eyes. President Chun is not here. He can't hear your bootlicking. Fang Tianyu took out his phone. I recorded it. The other 3 people looked at him coldly. Despicable, Liu Xiaoyang said. Even more despicable than me. Anyway, the director's matter was settled. Brother Yang, she had walked right into the trap and saved the 4 great directors of Tingguang Agency. As for Chun Guang, he was sitting on the sofa nervously with his hands on his knees. He looked at the 2 little girls who were on the verge of tears and had a slight headache. Actually, he should have gone straight to Guangdong headquarters to tell the 2 of them that he had resigned. But it was a little late when he got off the plane, so he did not go. On the other hand, since he had already resigned, he had to be thorough. He did not want others to say that he was lying behind his back. He had already resigned, but he was still thinking about it, and it would be a joke. He did not expect that the 2 of them had already seen through his thoughts and were already waiting for him at home. Are you giving up on us? You're so heartless. My ass is growing. How could you just leave like that? You're leaving so pitifully. From now on, my little sweetheart and I will be alone in the headquarters. We'll be bullied by those cruel and evil martial artists and have to rely on them to survive. Chen Guang, do you have the heart to leave me and little Meow Meow in the headquarters? You're the chief of the martial arts world now. How do you expect little Meow Meow and I to convince the masses? The two little girls were talking one after another. Chen Guang looked at them and felt a headache coming on. It was especially so for Xianqin. Honestly speaking, Chen Guang even felt that he was hallucinating. Did nothing happen between the two of them? Why didn't this last change much from before? No, she was a little different. Actually, the two of them were pretending to be in high spirits. It seemed like they were purposely trying to cheer him up. It was no wonder. Their master had passed away not long ago, and it was only the 7th day. The grand funeral was still in preparation. How could they be in such high spirits? Although he had told them that their master was not completely dead and they believed him, there was no way to prove it in such a short amount of time. Moreover, the two seniors had really died physically. It was really hard on them now. Perhaps they felt disappointed that they were stripped of their position as the chief bureau after returning from Beijing, so they purposely joked around to cheer him up. This must be the rotten idea of Wu Miaowan, who had even more crooked ways. Patting on Xianqin's head, Chen Guang continued, all right. You guys can stop trying to cheer yourselves up. I'm feeling tired for you guys. Sure enough, as soon as he finished speaking, the two of them instantly slumped down and sat on either side of him dejectedly, with their heads drooping. Senior Xin and Senior Wu's funeral is the day after tomorrow, right? Chen Guang asked. Yes. Will you be there then? Xianqin asked. Almost all the sects in the Bureau will send representatives. Actually, we know that with the reputation of the Thousand Despairs sect and Thousand Flower Valley in the pugilistic world, those big sects won't pay much attention to the death of their sect leaders. It's all because of you. But you, Chen Guang interrupted her. Of course I'll be there. Although I'm no longer the Bureau chief, it doesn't affect my relationship with you. It's only right that they give you face for my sake. Wu Miaowan asked, after you resigned today, there was news from Beijing that Shuai Lin was not appointed as the Bureau chief. He's still the team leader of the Special Operations Team. The Bureau will not have a chief position in the future. The two deputy Bureau chiefs will temporarily take over the Bureau chief's affairs. Chapter 940. Chen Guang nodded. They're smart enough to know that they can't easily push Shuai Lin, who isn't from the pugilistic world. Although Shuai Lin and I have a master-disciple relationship, and I acknowledge him, others don't. Forcefully replacing him will only ruin the good situation we're in now. However, without a wise and decisive chief to take the lead, don't you think it's too much work for the two of you to handle the chief's affairs? Xianqin asked. Aren't you ashamed? Wu Miaowan said. Haven't we always been the ones doing things, and you've never cared about anything? Chen Guang realized that they made a lot of sense, and he couldn't refute them. All right, that's the truth. However, people from the pugilistic world have their own way of doing things. The two of you are still weak, so if you can't handle the situation, you can come to me. Don't make things difficult for yourselves. Wu Miaowan snapped. Of course. Don't tell me you really don't care about us. You've already taken advantage of our little sweetheart, and you're still going to deny it? Annoying. Xianqin went after Wu Miaowan again, and the two of them had a good fight before they sat back down. Xianqin was still a little uneasy as she asked, That, you really don't care about being the chief? Wu Miaowan immediately spoke up to defend the injustice. Actually, in my opinion, we shouldn't care about this Guangding headquarters at all. Why don't we just jump out of it? Chen Guang, you can set up your own martial union and be the chief. With your invincible strength, I don't believe that the remaining 5 major sects and 20-odd sects would dare not come. Chen Guang patted Wu Miaowan's head. What nonsense are you thinking? I don't have the leisure to do that. So what if I become the chief of the martial union? Can I become stronger? I've already told you that when Ouyang Tianqing died, I wanted to run away. Do you think I'm joking? The two of them nodded to show that they understood, then shook their heads fiercely, not really believing him. Chen Guang took a deep breath. He decided to show off. He walked to the window with his hands behind his back and looked up at the stars in the sky. You all know that in my previous life, I was a grand mage who could almost break through the barriers of the world. Well, in fact, I became an elemental controller later on. In short, I was very, very strong, the kind of strong without boundaries. My journey is the sea of stars. Why would I care about a mere mortal job? Compared to being a bureau chief, I am more willing to pursue the pinnacle of power. How vast is this universe? You have no idea how many terrifying existences there are in this vast and boundless universe. In the Doloa world of my previous life, Earth was actually just the starting point. There were countless powerful forces hidden in the boundless starry sky of the entire plane. The world-shattering Holy Clan's greatest dream is to rule the universe of the Doloa world. Right, Shun, am the most talented magician in the history of the Doloa world. My dream is to touch the boundaries of power. When he said this, his tone was calm and deep. His extremely magnetic voice rumbled in the room under the repeated vibrations of his inner strength. It had a power that could penetrate people's hearts. While he was talking, Enchanting and Wu Miaoan unknowingly got up and walked to the window to look at the stars with him. Enchanting cupped her hands. Really? I really envy you. Wu Miaoan said, I also want to learn magic. How about I exchange my body with yours? It's very fresh and tender. Guang wanted to kick Wu Miaoan to death. Can't our thoughts be more normal? So, you guys understand now, it's actually a good thing for me not to be the bureau chief. This way, I can focus more on power. Although I still can't be sure now, maybe one day, when I recover, or even surpass the power I have in the Dolo world, I can find a way to let Senior Xian and Senior Wu come back to life somewhere. You guys will also have a chance to meet again. As for the two of you, now is the time to fulfill the wishes of the two seniors. Since the two of you represent the Thousand Despair sect and Myriad Flower Valley in your current positions, don't let go of this opportunity to strengthen your sect. Otherwise, the two seniors in the Heavenly Kingdom, if they find out about this in another place, they will be sad. Guang continued to keep his hands behind his back, maintaining the demeanor of an expert. Wu Miaoan nodded like a chick pecking at grains. All right, no problem. Of course, little darling, and I understand. But I want to ask, Lord Big Chrysanthemum Head, do you have a way to dual cultivate? When little darling and I are done with our work, we can dual cultivate together and make you stronger faster. All right, little Miaoan, restrain yourself. Xian turned around and pulled Wu Miaoan away. Even though Wu Miaoan was the one who was shooting off her mouth, if she really ignited Guang's fire, Xian would definitely be the unlucky one. Watching the two drive away from the window, Guang didn't feel melancholy. He actually didn't have any desires at this moment, and he wouldn't do anything to the two of them at such an inappropriate time either. A gentleman was lustful, but he did it in the right way. Now wasn't the right time. The next morning, Guang woke up early and packed his things. For the next few days, he wanted to stay in school. Actually, it hadn't been many days since he wanted to go back to school, but people were like this. If they encountered too many things at a certain time, even if it wasn't a long time, their minds would still feel as if it was a lifetime ago. Looking at his class schedule, he had the first class in the morning. He was actually quite curious about the expressions of the people in class when they realized that he had suddenly come to class. Would there be a lot of people asking for his autograph? How would he charge them then? Speaking of which, he had signed a lot of autograph photos for Bai Nyangzi previously. He didn't know how those scumbags were selling them. Why didn't they give him any commission? As he walked, his thoughts ran wild, and before he knew it, he had passed through the school gate. This was the semi-enclosed Gokyo University, and there weren't many people at the school gate early in the morning. Standing at the school gate and looking inside, Guang saw a figure in a snow-white dress standing at the intersection in the distance, looking back at him. The two were at least 100 meters apart, but with their superhuman eyesight, they could see each other's image very clearly. Guang was stunned for 2 seconds, and then he suddenly laughed. On the other side, Wenwen also grinned, revealing a mouth full of white teeth, like a blooming jasmine in autumn. Wenwen was wearing a snow-white casual jacket and light gray jeans. Her long hair draped over her shoulders, and she was carrying a purple leather backpack on her back. Looking at the heavy backpack, there should be textbooks in it. She casually hooked her thumbs on the shoulder straps of the backpack and stood there quietly with her back straight. Even the slightly thick autumn clothes couldn't hide her slender and curvaceous figure. From time to time, boys and girls who passed by would subconsciously focus their eyes on her. There were even some boys who got distracted and accidentally kicked the curb, causing them to grimace in pain. On the other hand, Chen Guang's appearance was much more sloppy. His specialty was that he could wear branded clothes without looking like branded clothes. She raised her leg and took a step forward. Chen Guang jogged to stop in front of her. "Hey, why are you at school again?" Actually, he felt that it was quite strange. After so many things had happened, he thought that it was unlikely that he would see Wen at school again, and that there was no need for her to come back to school. Unexpectedly, Wen didn't answer him, but asked him instead, "Aren't you at school too?" Chen Guang was speechless. He understood what she meant and scratched his head awkwardly. "Pretend I didn't ask." Then he smiled foolishly again. She was right. If he could go back to school, then Wen could, of course, go back too. He suddenly felt that the scene they were in now was just like the time when they had agreed to meet here to go to an internet cafe a long time ago. Obviously, many things had changed, and what had happened to him was simply earth-shattering. But when he suddenly thought back, it seemed that nothing had changed, and everything had returned to the beginning. She was still herself, and he was still himself. The two of them were still here. She was still dressed in white, and he still looked a little sloppy. In the eyes of others, it was like a flower stuck in cow dung. "Why are you in a daze? The bell for the first class is about to ring. Don't tell me you want to be late for the first class." Wen tugged at his clothes to stop him from being in a daze. Chen Guang sensed the envious gazes directed at him from all directions. He really didn't want to admit this matter. He was clearly more famous now, but Wen managed to make the other guys forget that he was an all-round superhuman. Most of their attention was focused on her. "Recently, my father has been recuperating in the sanatorium in the 5 capitals. With a few experts taking care of him, his condition has gradually stabilized. He didn't want me to see him in such a dejected state, so he had to chase me out. I also didn't have the mood to cultivate, so I thought it would be better to go back to school for lessons, so I came back." The two of them walked side by side, and Wen still explained to Chen Guang. Chen Guang nodded. He had actually guessed it long ago. If he wasn't considered as an anomaly, Wen was without a doubt the #1 in the world. Ouyang Tianxing was dead, Shadow Alliance was destroyed, and out of the 3 great aristocratic families, only the one family remained. If it wasn't for the fact that she wholeheartedly pursued a higher level of martial arts, Wen wouldn't have pursued a higher level of martial arts. With her personality, it was natural for her to choose to go back to school. Perhaps on the day she graduated, she, as the sect master of the one family, would even be like a normal graduate. She would plunge into the workplace with a playful mood and continue to experience the life of a white-collar worker. This wasn't strange at all. She was such a person. Chen Guang asked, "Aren't you going to ask me why I'm going back to school?" Wen stopped in her tracks and turned back to look at him. "There's no need to ask. What I think, isn't that what you think too? What's the difference between you and me?" With that said, she suddenly stepped on his foot and then ran off like the wind, shouting, "I'm in the 2nd building. You're in the 1st building, 508. Hurry up. Let's go for skewers after school tonight." She ran with great joy. No one could understand her joy. To be able to meet Chen Guang on the first day of school, and this wasn't even arranged by the two of them, but purely by chance. This kind of fate was simply too wonderful for words. Besides, she was also happy about something else. Today, she walked beside Chen Guang for so long. Although the abnormality in her dantian was still strong, she could barely suppress it. This meant that she could finally be with him normally in the future. Her legs were a little wet, but fortunately, her relatives had just come today, so it wouldn't leak out, nor would it wet her pants. Chen Guang felt a dull pain from being stepped on. Looking at Wen's back that was like a happy little bunny, he suddenly realized. Perhaps The person he saw before was not the real her. Now, she was carefree, not like a peerless master at all. She was not the sect master of the Wen family who had killed countless people with her own hands, holding a black knife, stained with blood, and killing without blinking an eye. She was just a happy female university student. She had experienced a lot of things and suffered a lot of hardships. Wasn't she the same? Born in an aristocratic family like the Wen family, she received the most cruel and harsh training since she was a child. She didn't even have the right to choose her friends and her own life. Later, she encountered a big change, and her family became a mess. Her father was poisoned, her elders died, and there were internal and external troubles. Now, she finally made it through. Even though she was a peerless genius who was second only to him in hundreds of years, what she really liked was not martial arts. She just wanted to live like an ordinary girl. In this regard, she was right. He was quite similar to her. Didn't he come back to study? His parents' mixed doubles was just an excuse. The real reason why he was standing here with his backpack was not complicated at all. I like it here. I just want to live a relaxed and carefree life like this. There's no reason. I'm happy. Wen had already run out of sight, but the smile on her face when she turned and ran away was still clear in his eyes. Chen Guang gradually clenched his fists as he raised his head to look at the sky. The autumn sun that had just risen not long ago hung in the sky, but it was a little misty, which made him feel a little heavy. He did not want to admit that the reason why he was so anxious to give up his official position and return to an ordinary life was because he wanted to quickly pass the test of the Heavenly Holy Grail. He wanted the Heavenly Holy Grail to advance to the next level so that he could become the true master of the Holy Grail. In fact, ever since the end of the Second World of Punishment, he had been unable to get rid of the pressure in his heart. He had an ominous premonition. After becoming a martial saint, he was affected by the chi of heaven and earth, and this feeling was even more obvious. Although the power of the Holy Grail that filled the sky and the earth was still thin, it was continuously becoming stronger. Chen Guang lowered his head and looked at the cup in his hand. He clearly knew that the change was happening, but he was powerless to stop it. In short, I relied on you to protect me in the past. But now, I am stronger than you. I don't know what will happen in the future, but this time, I will protect the smile on your face. Chen Guang finally came back to class. In an instant, this explosive news spread throughout the entire Jianhuan Academy. Before his butt even touched the chair in the classroom, someone had already sent out a message. Yo, Brother Guang, what a rare guest. As soon as Chen Guang sat down, Bai Nyangzi ridiculed him in a strange tone. Chen Guang spread out his hands. Stop talking nonsense. Where's my share? Bai Nyangzi looked confused. What share? Chen Guang said righteously. The share of selling my autographed photo. Chapter 941. Unexpectedly, as soon as he asked this question, the faces of Lin Jingwei, White Lady, and Bramble all darkened, just like a beaten eggplant. Xiong waved his hand. Don't talk about it. There were people who bought it in the beginning, but most of them were girls, so we happily sold some. But your reputation on the internet got worse, and there were too many people slandering you. Even the girls stopped buying it. Bai Nyangzi snorted. That's right. We even advertised it to ward off evil spirits, but we still couldn't sell it. Lin Jingwei said so. In the end, most of it was burned. Including the cost, we basically didn't make a profit in the end. Chen Guang, thank you guys for not apologizing while burning it. You don't say. Guang bro, your photos are super useful. I got an SSR the day after I burned them. Xiong perfectly demonstrated what it meant to be crazy and courting death. Then, he got beaten up. Halfway through the class, Lin Jingwei pulled Chen Guang over and asked, Are you really quitting your position as the bureau chief? Chen Guang nodded. Yeah, I don't want to do it anymore. Sigh. My grandpa and the rest went overboard. I apologize on his behalf. Save it. Why are you apologizing? You didn't do anything wrong. But I understand you now. No wonder you came to Beijing to study. Your grandpa and the rest of them. Aren't they tired of living like that? I don't think he's tired at all. In fact, he's enjoying it. I've advised him many times to stop caring about those things and retire peacefully, but he just won't listen. If you weren't there to help him, I'm afraid that Grandpa would have been sent to the hospital. Sigh, sigh. The two of them let out a long sigh. One was the third-generation Prince of China, and the other was the youngest vice minister in the world. Yet, they sat together in the classroom and sympathized with those old gentlemen who were addicted to politics. Things in the world were just so strange. After the first class, an uninvited guest came to the classroom and called Chun Guang out. Vice President Han, why are you looking for me? Chun Guang strenuously nodded his head and waved his hand at the passers-by as he spoke to Old Han. Old Han felt that this was not a good place to talk. Why don't we talk in my office? There are so many people coming and going. You're really famous now. When he arrived at Old Man Han's office, Chun Guang realized that Old Man Han had moved. He felt that he had addressed Old Man Han wrongly. Old Man Han was no longer the vice principal, but the principal of the academy. Su Lijing and Wang Ren were done for. Deputy Dean Deng, who was on Wang Ren's side, was unlucky at that time. After a semester, Dean Tong, who also wanted to cover up for Su Lijing, should have moved on and left. Naturally, it was the turn of Deputy Dean Han, who was conscientious and upright, to take over. It had not been easy for him. He had endured for most of his life and had finally made a name for himself. In the end, before he could congratulate Old Han, the old man threw him a piece of bad news. He was going to get a demerit. Little Chun, it's like this. Although you're doing music, making movies, and participating in all kinds of competitions, you're indeed bringing glory to the country and the school. Our school is also proud of you, but almost everyone in the school knows that you're still a student. Previously, the counselor asked you if you wanted to take a leave of absence, but you didn't want to. So what? Since the start of the semester, you've called for a total of 39 times. 5 of them, people took turns answering for you. Even Sun Xiaoxuan and Gaoye answered for you. All right, of course, they all saw through you. You didn't show up for the other 34 times. If we don't do something, we won't be able to explain to the other students. You know, after the incident with Su Lijing and Wang Ren, our school is under a lot of pressure. At the beginning of this semester, the principal said to rectify the academic atmosphere, and you're so conspicuous. Sigh. I'm feeling bitter. Vice President Han, just tell me what difficulties you have. Hey, Qingguang, how about this? The school will give you a demerit, okay? Of course, I won't force you. If you're not willing, I won't mention it again. I'll explain to the school leaders. You're the face of our school now. Even if there are some rumors, we can handle it. Looking at the old man's sincere and pleading expression, Qingguang was really embarrassed to refuse him. However, he was also unwilling. In fact, he had skipped classes in the past, but he had never encountered any demerits. Unfortunately, a tall tree attracts the wind. Times are different from the past. He knew that he was very eye-catching now. It wasn't strange at all to be picked out as a model. The school's intention was also very obvious. They wanted to put on a show for others. Did you see that? Our school is so strict that even celebrities don't have special privileges. All right. It's not impossible for me to cooperate, but I have a request. Okay, say it. Chun Guang rolled his eyes and said, I reckon that I'll have to skip a lot of classes at the end of this semester. My request is simple. Just this one demerit will do. But if I skip classes again, you can't hold me back. Old Han was a little hesitant. Chun Guang didn't want to comply. Vice President Han, don't ask for too much. It's not that I don't want to go to class on purpose. It's just that I often have other important things to do. There's no other way. How about this? I can promise you one thing. Anyway, I promise I won't fail any classes this semester, okay? Although I'm not in school, I won't fall behind in self-study. Didn't you see that I passed all the makeup subjects last semester? When Old Han heard this, he recalled the matter reported by the teacher. At the start of the semester, Qingguang's makeup test results were quite strange. One moment, he got full marks, the next moment he passed the passing line. He was so crazy that he couldn't even find any evidence of him cheating. Are your makeup test results real? He asked doubtfully. Qingguang smiled confidently. Vice President Han? Qingguang, might not be righteous enough in other matters, but when it comes to exams, I definitely have a clear conscience. Chen Guang would definitely not admit that he had asked Nicosia to take the exam on his behalf. There weren't many decent men like him who were willing to spend faith points to exchange for the special training in a cup just for a mere exam. All right, then it's settled. As long as you don't fail the final exam, I'll grant you the privilege. But if you fail, then just give me a detention. Old Han was a little speechless. Since when could detention be used in such a way? Forget it, I won't argue with him. I'm Chen Guang. At noon, Chen Guang, Sun Xiaoxuan, Gao Ye, and Lin Jingwei ran along the streets and ate a hearty meal of Japan chicken. Now that he was not short of money, he personally treated them to a welcoming party to celebrate his successful return to school. In the afternoon, an announcement that shocked the campus was directly published on Gokyo University's campus website, Azure Starry Sky. Chen Guang, one of the 5 brightest stars in the country and even the world, the almighty Superman, was given a demerit. The reason for his demerit was even more unbelievable. He actually skipped class. There were countless people who skipped class in the school, but there was no reason for him to be one of them. Although the management this semester was stricter, many people were given demerits. But there were even more people who didn't even go to class from the beginning to the end, especially when he was a relatively relaxed 4th year. Most importantly, he was a famous person, and yet he was still caught? Why didn't he think of a way to get in through the back door? As soon as the news came out, Bai Nyangzi, who was enthusiastically browsing the web on his phone, saw it. Brother Guang, good news. Get lost. You've been given a demerit. Go and play with your balls. Chen Guang also did not expect Old Han to be such a scammer. He only said that he would be given a demerit, but he did not say that he would announce it to the whole school. I've been King scammed. I accidentally became famous. How embarrassing. Forget it. Fortunately, my parents are still traveling abroad, and they probably won't see this. Some things really can't be thrown up randomly. Just as he was thinking about this, his father called. Chen Guang's heart skipped a beat. It can't be right. What a coincidence. The call connected, and it was his father's voice. Young man, you did well. Come, stretch your head over. I'll give you a red blessing. He did not know what his father had learned abroad, but the moment he opened his mouth, he wanted to give him a red blessing. Dad, why did you call me? What are you talking about? How have you been recently? He decided to use the strategy of avoiding the topic. Chen Guoli snorted. Not much. I just got off the plane, and I saw your good news. You're very good at your studies, and you've even gotten a demerit. Damn, it was indeed a flag raised. Chen Guang was not afraid of other people, but he could not do anything to his parents. He could not tell his father that he was once a deputy minister, and the reason he skipped classes was to save the world. He could not say it out loud, for fear of getting beaten up. Dad, it's a long story. Forget it. I won't talk to you anymore. You're not young anymore, and you should graduate next year and start working. It's time for you to be sensible. I'll help you hide this for now. Your mother still doesn't know about it, but you better take care of yourself later. We just got off the plane, and we had planned to come to school to have a meal with you before going back to our hometown. But it looks like it's not a good time now. I'll think of a way to bring the whole family back. Chen Guang laughed. Dad, you're the one who dotes on me. What else can I do? I'm not doting on you. I'm doting on your mother. I'm the only one who could take a beating. If I were your mother, I would have gotten Parkinson's disease long ago. That's true. That's true. Be careful on the way back. After hanging up, Chen Guang let out a long sigh of relief. He had dodged a bullet and almost got screwed over by Old Han. Brother Guang, did your father just say he's going to give you a red buff? Bai Nyangzi was being cheap again. When he begged Chen Guang to help him promote books on Weibo, he kissed him like a grandson. But after the matter was over, he kept on being cheap and sly. Later on, when he needed someone's help, he could lower his pride and beg humbly so that no one would be angry at him. Chen Guang decisively gave him a black buff. After school, Sun Xiaoxuan wanted to ask Chen Guang out for a movie, but by the time she got up, Chen Guang was already out of sight. Gao Ye felt indignant for Sun Xiaoxuan. This guy must be up to no good again. Don't you care about him? Sun Xiaoxuan became calm. I don't care about him. Why? Because he always has a reason to do things. I think he's always right. Gaia stared at her, dumbfounded. She sucked in a breath of cold air. Oh my God, you're so blind. No, you're not blind anymore. You're blind. Chapter 942. In fact, Chen Guang and Wenwen didn't do anything special. They said they were eating skewers, and they were really just eating skewers. Originally, he wanted to go to the internet cafe to play a few games with them. However, considering that he was getting more and more famous, eating skewers with a beauty on the street was shocking enough. If he went to the internet cafe to play games, he would probably be surrounded by people. On the other hand, Wenwen didn't want to stay with him for too long. She found that although she could handle the situation in her dantian for a while, after sitting with this guy for a long time, the strange feeling in her heart would become stronger and stronger as time went by, until it was difficult to suppress. Today, she didn't want to be eaten up by Chen Guang, so she ate more than 300 skewers in a few bites. Then, she used the excuse of going back to the nursing home to see her father, got up, and ran away. Under the stunned gaze of the boss, Chen Guang gave him more than 800 yuan and drove to the company. More than a day had passed, and the matter of the play had progressed a lot. She was also a big shot in the industry. With him around, it was much easier to find actors. Now, the actors had basically been selected. They were coming from all over the country, and they would all be here by the day after tomorrow at the latest. The script for Thunderstorm was ready-made, but it involved copyright issues, so Lu Xiaoyang had already gone out to handle it. On the other hand, for the sake of Chen Guang, it wasn't difficult to cut the queue and find a theater in Wujing. As for the costumes and props, they found a company that Chen Guang was familiar with. It was the company that had bought his armor and then sent it back to him. Until now, Chen Guang still remembered the name of the boss of Iris's flower company, Yu Kai. He had a deep impression of him. Okay, since you're almost done, I won't ask anymore. Chen Guang was extremely satisfied with the efficiency of the company. There was strength in numbers, and this was the benefit of it. Brother Chen, don't you want to read the script first? She held the freshly printed script in his hand and shook it in front of Chen Guang. Chen Guang waved his hand indifferently. No need. I'll read it before I go on stage. She knew his ability. Seeing that he wasn't in the mood to read it, he didn't rush him. That's fine. Yu Hong and Fong Tianyu were stunned by the conversation between the two. At first, he thought that Director Yang was an old acquaintance and would more or less be able to restrain CEO Chen and make him pay more attention. It turned out that the two of them were jackalls of the same tribe. After Chen Guang was gone, Fong Tianyu asked Shi anxiously, Director Chen, is he really a man? Shi didn't explain and just smiled mysteriously. Don't worry. Don Chen's Chen. Don't worry. Chen Chen's name. However, Shi wasn't willing to speak any further. He thought to himself, what kind of joke is this? I'm here with Chen Guang to win without doing anything. The next day, Chen Guang did not intend to go to the company, but he still went to the city in the afternoon. It was a big shot. Sitting in the office, Chen Guang looked at this person who was said to be from the Rising Sea Insurance Group. For some reason, he felt that this person's words were a little unbelievable. If he isn't messing with me, then there must be someone else behind this. He actually said that he wanted to invest in Tianguang brokerage on behalf of Rising Sea Insurance Group. Based on Chen Guang's personality, he wouldn't be interested in letting others invest in his company, even if he knew that it was a profitable business. Isn't it obvious that he's sharing the money with others? However, he was a little tempted this time. The reason was that he couldn't refuse the offer from Mr. Rao. According to Mr. Rao, the Rising Sea Insurance Group he represented valued Tianguang brokerage at 10 billion yuan. The investment plan he proposed was even more insane. An investment of 1 billion yuan would dilute the company's total share capital. The Rising Sea Fund would hold 5% of the company's shares, and Chen Guang and Tang Jie Fund shares would be reduced in proportion. Chen Guang's shares would be changed to 76%, and Tang Jie Fund shares would be changed to 19%. This matter was complicated, and there might be a long process in the middle, but the final result was about the same. What kind of spirit did Mr. Rao have? It was the spirit of international humanitarian aid. It was a great feeling that didn't ask for anything in return, but something to give. Chen Guang couldn't believe it. The only valuable thing about my empty shell company is my almighty superhuman brand. If one day my reputation is ruined, or if I get tired of the entertainment industry and don't want to work anymore, Tingguang Brokerage will instantly fall into an awkward situation where it can't make any profits. That's right, my profitability is quite strong, but the entire company doesn't have a complete system and doesn't have enough IP reserves. There's no reason for it to be valued at 10 billion yuan. What's more, according to the Rising Sea Fund's investment, Tingguang Brokerage has a premium of 20 billion yuan. Are you stupid? What ability does the old man have to give me money like this? I'm a little nervous. Mr. Rao, your proposal looks very tempting, but I don't understand why. I really don't think Tingguang Brokerage is worth this price. Chen Guang placed Rao Zhenghai's proposal to the side and pressed his hands on the mahogany desk. As he spoke, he subconsciously leaned forward to give Rao Zhenghai the illusion that he was tempted. The other party was an old fox in the business world, and the bait was too tempting. Chen Guang subconsciously felt that something was wrong. He had to be on guard. He wanted to make Rao Zhenghai feel that he was naive and see if he would reveal his fox's tail. Mr. Chen, you're belittling yourself. Tingguang Brokerage has only been established for a few months, and you've already made hundreds of millions in profits. You've already proven the value of Tingguang Brokerage. The cultural industry is booming now, and the pie will only get bigger and bigger in the future. However, companies like Tingguang Brokerage that can maintain a good profit rate during such rapid growth are still rare. Other companies that operate copyrights are mostly in the stage of financing and burning money for copyrights. You're already one step ahead of the others. Furthermore, Mr. Chen, you're different from other celebrities. There's still a lot of value to be excavated from you. I'm sure that you have more than what you've shown so far. You might not know this, but before the Olympics, there was a swimmer with the surname Ning. According to some evaluation agencies, his personal IP value could reach 20 billion. Mr. Chen, you're only higher than him. Some WeChat public accounts, and even Poppy Chan, whose content creation ability is not as good as yours, can be valued at more than 1 billion. I've valued Tingguang Brokerage at 10 billion, so it's reasonable to increase it to 20 billion. Chen Guang was almost convinced by him. According to Mr. Rao, money was not being spent as money nowadays. Billions and billions were being spent at every turn. Did he think they were burning hell's money? Comrade, you can't stop using fake drugs. Those who truly understood the industry knew that the cultural industry had been bragging to the heavens. Even Little Tsong's bamboo livestream was no longer burning money for live streamers. During the craziness of the first half of the year, any lousy live streamer would sign a contract fee of 100 million for a few years or 30 million for a year. In the end, it was the end of the year now, and it was time to settle the bills. Those who owed wages were owed wages, and those who were slaves of different surnames were all over the streets. That meant that the bubble was about to burst, and the money couldn't be burned anymore. It was easy to say that traffic could turn into cash, but was it really a stump for countless heroes to achieve? The click-through rate of online television dramas depended on it. It also depended on it to increase its popularity and topicality. It also depended on it to increase its box office earnings. It also depended on it to increase the number of viewers and bullet screen comments in the live stream rooms. Everything was fake prosperity. It only depended on the advertising sponsors who were stupid and rich to pay the bills. But there were many smart people in this world, and there were even fewer fools who could make money and afford sky-high advertising fees. Everyone had a clear idea of how much this so-called traffic flow was worth. Also, the Chinese Super League, which not many people in the country watched at all, was easily offered transfer fees of tens of millions of dollars to big foreign brands, with annual salaries of hundreds of millions. In the end, the stadium's occupancy rate was less than 50%, and the jerseys and other peripheral products couldn't be sold at all. They only had the ability to spend money, but not the ability to generate revenue. Why did they have to raise such sky-high prices? The rights to the live stream of the Chinese Super League which had no ratings at all, could still be sold for more than $1 billion a year. The balloons in the sky were blown bigger than the sun, ready to explode at any moment. It was as if all the money printing machines in the country had been turned on overnight, and trillions of dollars had fallen from the sky. Where did this money come from? Was it born out of thin air? Outsiders might not be aware of this, but Chen Guang could be considered as someone in the industry, not to mention that he was the strongest internet celebrity in the country. So how could he not understand that this was all hype? It was all a bubble that would explode sooner or later. Perhaps it might happen tomorrow, or perhaps it might last for another year. When the noise passed, the real companies that were good at content and diligent in operation and took one step at a time would have the last laugh. At that time, countless speculative capitalists would cry in the corner, and countless retail investors would cry their hearts out. It wasn't hard to guess. Rao Zhenghai wasn't an ignorant bystander. He was the chairman of the Rising Sea Insurance Fund. Whether it was his vision or his identity, he stood at the top of the national financial pyramid, and it was impossible for him not to understand this. There was nothing wrong with him having the idea of setting up an internet celebrity economy, but there was no reason for him to take out $1 billion so easily just to get 5% of his shares. Tianguang Brokerage was just a personal brokerage company built around an omnipotent Superman. It didn't have any core technology or real industrial reserves, so it wasn't worth this money at all. Mr. Rao, I understand what you're saying, but let's not beat around the bush in front of an honest person. You and I both know it. What is your real purpose? Chen Guang leaned back, and he finally put away the facade of an ignorant young man. With a faint smile on his face, he looked at Rao Zhenghai meaningfully. Rao Zhenghai was stunned at first, and he was stunned for a long time. Just like that, in his eyes, Chen Guang's aura changed drastically in an instant. He turned from a rash young man to an old fox who understood the world. He remembered an old man's instructions to him before he came down. He must not underestimate Chen Guang, and must not treat him like an ordinary young man. Just now, he didn't take the old man's warning seriously. At that time, Chen Guang pretended to be calm, but in fact, he was eager to try. In his eyes, it was slightly ridiculous. After all, young people were still a little immature and not shrewd enough. But now, he knew that he was wrong. This cunning fellow, he was acting within an act just now, and he was completely led into it. Looks like I have to tell the truth. Mr. Chen, since you've already thought of it, then I'll tell the truth. Actually, this isn't my idea, it's a request from the higher-ups. They feel that it's necessary to give you some compensation. As Rao Zhenghai said that, he pointed to the sky mysteriously. Chen Guang suddenly laughed. Actually, he had this idea just now, and he had already thought of it. Although he was the one who took the initiative to resign in the end, the old men were still afraid that he would lose his position as the bureau chief, and they knew that he loved money. They were even more worried that if the bureau couldn't control the situation in the future, they would still have to ask him to step in. They were afraid that he would really become a wild crane that didn't care about the world. That was why they came up with this idea. They purposely gave Tianguang Brokerage a high valuation and then arranged for a fund with a powerful background to buy the investment. On the surface, it was free money, but in the dark, it made him owe them a favor, and he couldn't get away. Actually, he knew that he should have had a tacit understanding with the other party, and he shouldn't have forced him to say it. However, he was already tired of scheming with the old men. Now that he had asked Rao Zhenghai to tell the truth, Rao Zhenghai would pass on the content of the conversation between the two of them to the higher-ups. This was also his way of showing his attitude. Don't play tricks with me anymore. It's very annoying. Mr. Rao, then please thank them for me. Let me think about this for another 2 days, and I'll give you an accurate answer. After Chen Guang laughed, his face darkened, and his knuckles rhythmically knocked on the table, and he said word by word. Rao Zhenghai took a deep breath, and he was really shocked this time. It's almost like giving you $1 billion for free, and you still want to think about it. Chapter 943. When Rao Zhenghai left the Lida building and returned to the hotel, he was still in a daze. Back then, when he was asked to use Shanghai's funds to invest in a mere internet celebrities company, he was extremely against it. However, the higher-ups were too determined and more or less revealed to him that the owner of Tianguang Brokerage, Chen Guang, was an extraordinary person. It would be a miracle if he could be roped in with money. Otherwise, the price he would have to pay would be unimaginably heavy. At the very least, he would have to take out power that was close to the Hall of Treasure to satisfy him. At that time, Rao Xinghai was shocked and finally agreed to this seemingly unreasonable request. He felt sorry for himself. Other people who played with the internet celebrity economy were actually playing with capital bubbles. They would easily blow up the bubble, but in reality, the amount of money that was actually taken out might not be that much. It might not even be their own money. Who would be like him, taking out such a huge amount of real money to give money to others? Before coming here, he had also done a very detailed assessment of Chen Guang's company. It was undeniable that although Tianguang Brokerage had only been established for less than half a year, and they were always doing things that were unreliable, their profitability was indeed terrifying. It was indeed a miracle that this company could accomplish such a feat with such a small size. Chen Guang himself was considered a genius in the business world. Every time people thought that he was going to lose money, he ended up making a lot of money. It was said that every time he did an event, he would say to the public that he didn't want to make money and that he didn't want to make money at all. However, he didn't lack money. Just based on the terrifying profitability of Tianguang Brokerage, the company's valuation was indeed much higher than its cash flow. From the professional perspective of Rao Xinghai and his team, a valuation of 2 billion to 3 billion was acceptable. If it was more than 3 billion, anyone who wanted to invest in it would be a fool with too much money. However, even if he was valued at 2 billion and invested in cash, he would have to sign a VM agreement that would make at least 800 million to 1 billion in 5 years. If he couldn't achieve the profit target, Chen Guang would have to pay for it out of his own pocket or buy back the shares. That was the normal value of Tianguang Brokerage. It was undeniable that Chen Guang's ability to make money was very strong, but his company had only been established for a short period of time. Other than hosting events, his profit model was not clear enough, and he did not have any ability to make money. Apart from Chen Guang himself, there was nothing else. The reason why Tianguang Agency could develop so smoothly was largely due to Chen Guang's individual performance and luck. There are still many uncertainties in this startup company, which indirectly pulled down its market value. Therefore, in Rao Xinghai's heart, his valuation and asking price were no different from that of a child giving away money. But he was rejected. After Chen Guang sent Rao Xinghai off, he called Yu Hong and a few other middle-level leaders to his office and told them about what he had just discussed with Rao Xinghai. As Tang Xiaokai's confidant in the Tang Jie Foundation, Yu Hong quickly guessed the truth. Although he did not know the reason, there was no doubt that someone in Beijing wanted to give him money for free. This time, it was even more outrageous than the last time. The Tang Jie Fund had paid for the bill the last time, but this time, the Rising Sea Insurance Company, which was in charge of paying the bill, had directly increased the amount by nearly 10 times. Is our Mr. Chan the descendant of the previous emperor? Is this a recruitment fee? This is ridiculous. However, Yu Hong did not find it strange that Chen Guang did not immediately agree to Rising Sea's Mr. Rao's request. There must be some reasons that people of his level did not have a right to know. However, Fang Tianyu, Lu Xiaoyang, and Su Li were completely dumbfounded. Rao Xinghai, who was giving the money, might not be fully awake and was sleepwalking. Or perhaps there was something wrong with his brain. However, our Mr. Chen is not inferior to Mr. Rao at all. They're on par with each other. Mr. Chen, you can't do that. I don't understand. Fang Tianyu was dumbfounded. Lu Xiaoyang nearly jumped up. Mr. Chen, I know I shouldn't say much about this, but I still don't understand. Rising Sea only wants 5% of the shares, but they're giving 1 billion in cash. If this is true, there's no reason for them to reject it. Su Li said from his professional point of view, although our company's financial situation is very good now, and there are no signs of needing financing in the short term, it's never a bad thing to have more money. Plus, it's 1 billion. Oh my God. Su Li, who usually did not speak nonsense, could not help but add, "Oh my God," this time. Although he looked calm on the surface, he could not hide his emotions. Chen Guang had wanted to ask for their opinions, but seeing this, he knew that there was no need for him to say anything. They could not give the answer they wanted. In fact, they could not even understand the hesitation in their hearts. I should have asked someone else. They did not know that he was once the director of the General Bureau and could not consider the whole picture. Forget it. Don't worry about this first. How's the discussion for the play going? Chen Guang had a general understanding of the live broadcast of the play and the sponsorship. The live broadcast was still Bamboo, but the live broadcast on TV had become the Mango channel that he used to dislike. On account of their high price and willingness to pay, since the contract had already been signed, he would forget about it this time. The sponsorship was not as good as he had imagined. He only managed to get a total of 2 companies, which did not even add up to 10 million. On one hand, it was not convenient to insert advertisements in the live broadcast of the play. On the other hand, the frequency of his activities was a little too high. The bosses were almost out of money. Now that his net worth had reached a certain level, sometimes he would rather not accept the offer than to lower the price easily. In layman's terms, lowering the price would harm his status, which was not beneficial to his long-term profits. Sitting in the car, Chen Guang racked his brains. Who should he talk to about this? He also wanted Rao Zhenghai's money. That was 1 billion. He had no qualms about taking it. However, he also felt uncomfortable. He always felt that the value of his company in the future might not only stop at the level of 20 billion yuan. In this way, it was still possible that Rao Zhenghai and his Rising Sea Insurance Company would make money, so he was not very happy. He could not help but complain in his heart. These old men are so unreasonable. If they want to give me money, they can just give me money. Why do they have to target my shares? Although 5% was not much, no matter how small a mosquito's leg was, it was still meat. In the future, the mosquito would mutate and become a huge steak. Moreover, once he took the money, it meant that he had accepted their goodwill, and he would be tied to these people again. He was really quite annoying. However, it seemed like as long as Xianqin and Wu Miaowan were still in the Guangdong General Administration, he would not be able to escape as the retired general director. No matter how resolute he sounded, if the 2 little Lolas were in trouble, could he not care less? It seemed like it did not matter whether he took the money or not. Unknowingly, as his thoughts ran wild, he thought of a rather reliable candidate. She was an expert, knew the ways of doing business, and knew his special identity. Most importantly, he had not seen her for some time, and he missed her from time to time. Yes, the candidate was Lu Fei. As soon as he called, he was elated. What a coincidence! Lu Fei had just returned from the neighboring Wutuo town yesterday, and she was about to look for him. After meeting Lu Fei at a cafe, Chen Guang went out excitedly. When he arrived at the private room, Lu Fei was already waiting for him inside. I saw that you usually drink tea, so I didn't order coffee for you. When I just came over, I brought a packet of Longjing tea from my father's friend. You can drink it yourself. Chen Guang took the tea box from Lu Fei, carefully grabbed a small handful from inside, and threw it into the Tongtian Holy Grail. Then, he happily made a pot of water. His nose was full of the fresh and tranquil tea fragrance. Longjing tea is such a good thing. What do you mean by drink it yourself? I even drink Humao foam tea. Didn't you just call to ask me something? Say it. Lu Fei took a sip of coffee, rested her chin on her elbow, and looked at Chen Guang with her head tilted. Chen Guang was not the same as the people in her circle. Just like this Longjing tea, it was a good thing, but she would never take it out of her house for others to drink. Other people might have their own channels to get it, but they would never be like Chen Guang. He was clearly worth hundreds of millions and had a high position of power, but he still looked so precious and happy. Lu Fei felt that Chen Guang was not pretending to be happy to please her, but he was really happy. As for others, even Zhong Bai and Wang Qing, who had a particularly good relationship with each other, would never be happy for such a small thing. They were used to that kind of extravagant life. Even if they also showed such cheerful expressions, it was most likely to be to make her happy. Lu Fei felt that Chen Guang was particularly real, but at the same time, particularly mysterious. His driving skills were the first thing that attracted her, but after knowing him for a long time, Lu Fei found that Chun Guang seemed to be omnipotent. Later, she learned that he was a living magician in his previous life. His entire body was filled with a sense of mystery and indescribable charm. But the rarest thing about him was that no matter how his status changed, he maintained a rare heart. You wouldn't be able to find such a man even if you searched for a lantern. Why are you distracted? I'm done. Chun Guang patted her on the shoulder. Lu Fei came back to her senses, ran her fingers through her hair in embarrassment, and grinned. I'm sorry, I was fascinated by you. Chun Guang, I'll give you 118 points for this reason of being in a daze. The full score is 100 points, and the extra 18 points will be divided into 3 sixes. He repeated it to Lu Fei again. This time, Lu Fei listened carefully. She was not in a hurry to answer Chun Guang, but used her fingers to play with the spoon in the coffee cup. Chun Guang did not rush her and blew on his tea. 5 minutes passed. 10 minutes passed. 15 minutes. Okay, almost. Lu Fei suddenly looked up at Chun Guang. I'll take it. Chun Guang nodded. Okay. Chapter 944. You're not even going to ask me why? You definitely won't harm me. I can't make a decision. You know better than me. If you think it's time to take it, then take it. So infuriating, I've just come up with a whole bunch of reasons to convince you. Chun Guang snappily said, Since I'm here to ask for your opinion, you help me decide. Why do you need to convince me? Lu Fei fiercely looked at him. You're really lazy. Chun Guang chuckled. This is not me being lazy. This is called knowing people well. If I don't have to use my brain, why do I have to be so tired? I have to spend my energy on other things. That's true. You're a great magister. You're a bureau chief. Oh, you're no longer one now. Don't you want to know why I suggested you take it? Also, there's actually another way to take it. Say it. Chun Guang didn't want to dampen her enthusiasm. Well, first of all, you also want this money, right? Although I don't know what you want, I always feel that your ability to spend money is as good as your ability to earn money. In fact, capital is like this, forever relying on your own money to do business. That's the experience of the older generation. It's no longer applicable in this era. Capital has its advantages and disadvantages, but it's in line with the laws of the modern economy. In this matter, that Tang Shaokai is the best among our younger generation. Then, you don't want others to take advantage of you. Even if it's only 5% of the shares, you don't want to share your results with people you don't know in the future. After all, at that time, maybe this 5% of the shares will be worth more. In addition, although you took the initiative to give up the bureau chief position, you're unhappy because of this matter. You also feel at ease taking the compensation they give you. In summary, whether it's for the development of the company or for your own comfort, you have to take this money. Chun Guang nodded. That's the reason. Lu Fei suddenly smiled wickedly. So, this is the solution I came up with. 5% of the shares will be given to them, but not to the Tianguang agency that you and Tang Shaokai are working with. Instead, you will set up another subsidiary of Tianguang Agency. It will be financially independent from the current Tianguang Agency, but the management will be like a parent and subsidiary company. The name will be Tianguang Culture. Tianguang Media is good at everything. On the one hand, if you let Rising Ocean Corporation invest in Tianguang Brokerage, you'll be making money, and the company will have a large amount of cash flow. However, the 19% of shares that Tang Shaokai occupies will appreciate too quickly and too easily. On the other hand, your foundation is Tianguang Agency. If you're unhappy in the future, you can turn Tianguang Culture or Tianguang Media into an empty shell. Of two. Tianguang Agency. Most people to say. To ordinary. Ordinary. Not to you. However, your situation is special. Tang Shaokai will definitely not object. In fact, he doesn't care about the benefits of investing in you. As for Rising Sea, no matter how harsh your conditions are, it won't be a problem. Since he came to you, he must have accepted a mission. The people in Beijing only care about whether the money will be delivered to you in a reasonable manner. This way, the people in Beijing will be more satisfied. Rao Zhenhai of Rising C has no choice. He will think of a way to explain to the other shareholders of Rising Sea. Even if he pays from his own pocket or seeks funding from others, he will find the money for you. Chen Guang's eyes gradually brightened. He asked, can the parent company and the subsidiary company be completely financially independent? Lu Fei raised her eyebrows. Of course, they're both independent legal entities. However, because of you, they added an agreement that temporarily allows the subsidiary company to be completely controlled by the parent company. Actually, they're two relatively independent entities. Actually, you can let Tianguang Agency control part of the subsidiary company. However, in principle, you and Tang Xiaokai would have to inject a certain amount of capital. It's meaningless. Instead, Tang Xiaokai would take advantage of you. I have another question. If I set up an empty subsidiary company and take $1 billion yuan from Rao Zhenghai and only give him 5%, they'll still have to say something about it, right? Lu Fei rolled her eyes. Idiot. Can't you just buy some IP to put on a show? Besides, aren't you already the most popular IP in the country? You're so smart. It's enough to have a confidant in life. Why don't you help me? Lu Fei shook her head violently. I'm sorry. I'm not interested in your petty tricks. Chen Guang was angry that he was being looked down upon. However, on second thought, the person in front of him could buy a Porsche 918. She was a hidden tycoon with a family worth more than $10 billion US. It seemed like this was just a petty trick to her. After dinner, Chen Guang and Lu Fei went their separate ways. It wasn't that they didn't have any ideas, but Lu Fei had to fly to the sea at night. She was busier than Chen Guang. When Rao Zhenghai received Chen Guang's call, it was already past 8 at night. After hearing Chen Guang's request, Rao Zhenghai felt that he had wasted half of his life doing business. You really have a big heart. You think you're losing out by buying 5% of your shares for $1 billion? Can you be a little more reasonable? I can't even get the shares of your parent company, yet you're setting up a wholly owned subsidiary company and giving me 5%? How can you be so shameless? How can you be so shameless? How can I explain this to the other shareholders of Rising Sea? Unfortunately, Chen Guang didn't seem interested in negotiating with him at all. In any case, this matter was settled. Can you handle it or accept it? Let's do it. If you can't handle it, I won't rely on your money to live. We'll go our separate ways. Chen Guang didn't say it clearly, but his meaning was clear. No matter how angry Rao Zhenghai was, he could only report it as it was. On the way back to the office, Chen Guang received an unexpected call. It was from Old Master Jean. Chen Guang chatted with him briefly. Old Master Jean didn't reveal too much to him. He was just concerned about Chen Guang's current mental state. He was afraid that Chen Guang had a hard time getting over it. Chen Guang didn't like other old masters, but Jin Shuriyue and Jiang Ye's grandfather had been helping him from the beginning. He couldn't be cold to him, so he spoke politely to him. Before hanging up, Old Master Jin hinted to Chen Guang about Shanghai. Old Master Jin must have received Rao Zhenghai's report and called to dispel Chen Guang's concerns. Chen Guang pretended not to understand, so he didn't explain it to him. However, Chen Guang knew that Rao Zhenghai had lowered his head at the speed of light. Perhaps Old Master Jin was the one who instructed Rao Zhenghai to do this. However, they would never understand. Although Chen Guang loved money, he was no longer as attractive to him when he had money to a certain extent. It was already 9 p.m. when he arrived at the office. Su Li had already gotten off work, and Lu Xiaoyang was still working on the copyrights. Chen Guang called Yu Hong and Fang Tianyu, who were still working overtime, to his office and announced his decision to them. After some discussion, the subsidiary company would be named Tianguang Media. It would still be Chen Guang's legal representative. It would be an empty shell for the time being. The specific arrangements were left to Yu Hong and Fang Tianyu. Chen Guang would be the one to do it. Since Lu Xiaoyang was also working on the copyrights, Chen Guang didn't want to waste his energy. He called Lu Xiaoyang and told him to buy some copyrights when he was free. It didn't matter if it was variety shows, animations, or American dramas. He could even buy some of the copyrights for web novels. Other than a certain book called Billionaire Young Master's Cruel and Doting Wife, Please Love Me 1001 Times, everything else was fine. After buying these copyrights, they would all be placed under Tingguang Media. As for the funds needed for the acquisition, they would discuss the project for the time being. When Rao Zhenghai was done with the matter and sent the money to them, they would immediately start work. After that, Chen Guang called Tang Xiaokai, who was far away overseas. Actually, he didn't need to specifically communicate with Tang Xiaokai about this. However, Tang Xiaokai had given him money and people in the early stages of his business. He was very kind. Now, he had to make things clear and let him understand that he had no intention of abandoning him to avoid any future conflicts. Tang Xiaokai was a sensible person. Although Chen Guang's actions had caused Tang Jie Fund to make a lot less money in a certain sense, he didn't expect to make a return on his investment in Tingguang Media. He hadn't even lost all his money yet. Instead, his investment of $20 million had increased a few times in value. That was already a pleasant surprise. Besides, Shanghai's decision had nothing to do with him. It was the higher-ups who wanted to send money to Chen Guang through another channel. Tang Xiaokai was actually glad that he didn't have to take the blame again. In the end, Tang Xiaokai took a roundabout approach and mentioned another matter to Chen Guang. "Brother Guang, what's going on between you and my sister recently?" Chen Guang was stunned. "What's wrong? What did Sister Ing say to you?" "Sister, brother, the two of you are so romantic." Cough, cough. "My sister didn't say anything. Wasn't she preparing her thesis when you were organizing the language conference?" "Yeah. What's wrong?" "She's already published her thesis. I found someone to publish it for her. It's published in a rather high-class journal. Recently, that journal is planning to organize an academic exchange. She didn't intend to come when they invited her, but she changed her mind on the day that the World Language Conference you organized ended. Recently, she's been busy wrapping up matters at the hospital. Did you two quarrel?" "No." "So what?" Brother Guang, it's not that I want to criticize you, but don't be fooled by my sister's cheerful appearance. She hasn't been close to many guys since she was young. As her younger brother, I don't have the right to interfere in your affairs. But since the rice has been cooked, Brother Guang, you can't go back on your words. Let me tell you, don't think that a celebrity like Jin Shuriwei is so high and mighty, but when it comes to living, my sister is still better. Think about when you're sick." Chen Guang was stunned. "The rice has been cooked? When did that happen? Why can't I remember? That's not right." There was a time when he and Tang Ying fell down together, and Tang Xiaokai, who had just returned to China, bumped into them. All right, Chen Guang thought about what happened on the plane with Tang Ying. It didn't seem that pure after all. To a certain extent, he was right. As for why Tang Ying suddenly wanted to go to America after the World Language Conference, Chen Guang naturally understood. She was hiding and pretending to be an ostrich. Despicable. No wonder she didn't call me recently. Even when I'm going to squander again, she didn't make any moves. This sister wants to go back on her words after losing the bet. Shameless. She can even go back on her words? Chen Guang looked at his watch. It was 10 p.m. He wondered if Tang Ying was still on duty at the hospital. He decided to check on her first. He didn't really want her to honor her words. Even if she wants to write off her words, he has to agree first. It's not harmonious for her to break the contract unilaterally. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.